All right. Welcome to the Jaybefaunt channel. I am your host, Jaybefaunt Leroy. Great to see you all on this Tuesday afternoon. As always, today is April 8th, 2025. Man, I almost went a whole month before. But just to let you guys know, the Jaybefaunt channel is also part of Revolutionary Blackout Network. So you can find me there every single Thursday for the Sabia JB show and Sundays for the JB show as well. If you guys have not already, go ahead and do me a favor. Go ahead and give a like to the stream because I know you want to. I know you do. So thank you very much. And I appreciate it from the top and bottom of my heart. Also, if you guys have you guys considered sharing and subscribing? Go ahead. It helps bring the message out to more people. So thank you very much for that. Also, if you guys like to get some email notifications instead, just so that you guys can be more well aware whenever I do go live, upload clips, or write the articles, you guys can go to jaybefaunt.substack.com. So you guys have that right there. Now, hello to every single one of you. Look, I'm going to do like this one dude did one time when he wanted to spread all the love. Spread all the love to y'all. Yeah. So good to see you. But I have a guest, so I want to be very respectful of their time, right? As you guys always know, that's how I roll. Now, one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to show, hold up. Good to see you, Nick. Good to see you, bro. I'm going to have you on too. Be prepared. But while we're at it, what we're going to do is we're actually going to share what we're going to be talking about today. So we got 3 segments, right? We're going to be talking about. And, ooh. StreamYard, what you doing? You double dipping. Anyway. Don't double dip the chip, y'all. Don't double dip the chip. That's nasty. Anyway, what are we talking about today? Well, as you guys can tell from the thumbnail, we're going to be talking about 3 different subjects. So later in the show today, we're going to be talking about an article. We're going to be going over an article that talks about climate change. It will destroy capitalism. That's something I really want to read and get into, and I want to get my fresh in my mind thoughts on it to you guys. So we're going to be going over that article. Another one that we're also going to be going to is the segment of towards the middle of the show. We're going to be talking about a tariff catastrophe. Tariff catastrophe. Right now, what the Trump administration is doing, I got my thoughts. I'll let y'all know in a minute. And first, we're going to be talking about displacing Black families. This is a class issue that a lot of people don't talk about. And I think it needs to be addressed, especially by some people like me. And with that, I bought somebody who also is going to be very perfect at addressing this too. My home brother. That actually create a new word. Anyway, homeboy, comrade, Rome from RBN, good to see you, bro. Looking all fresh-faced and sexy. You're muted, man. You're muted.
My bad. Yeah. I just cut my hair today, so I'm feeling a little better. I ain't in the blue like I was before, but I'm doing a lot better, man. How you doing?
Yeah, it's good. It's good to see you. It's good to have you here. One of the things that I've been thinking about, especially within living in the Imperial Core, being part of a marginalized group, it's kind of like, I want to see the empire do bad, but I don't want to see the people do bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of like that dichotomy. It's like I got a perfect example. It's like that one dude, that neighbor you have across the street, that he's just mean and surly and just terrible to you. And you want something bad to happen to that man across the street. But then you notice he got kids. Man, that's the thing. It's like, I don't want anything bad to happen to the kids, but that dude got to get his comeuppance. And that's sometimes how I feel about the American empire, is that I don't want the kids to get messed up. But at the same time, it's like, this empire really is something. It's been working on a lot of us.
Yeah, it's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt the people who's not, participating in this capitalist society. And whether we like it or not, a lot of people are going to be hurt from these things. A lot of people are going to be displaced, put into prisons.
Yeah.
But that's just the reality of the situation that we are living under right now. The only way we're going to be able to combat that is by gathering up as a community, gathering up as a whole, feeding our people, guerrilla gardening, making sure we got community gardens, making sure we have safe places for people to educate themselves, educate the children and whatnot. But when capitalism fall, and it's deemed to fall, every empire fall, nothing lasts forever. The people that the innocents, the babies, they will be victims to this, and this is why it's important for us to spearhead these movements right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So one of the things I want to talk about is especially this particular first subject that deals with Black Americans, especially in this country, and how we are constantly being placed under the thumb, especially of this empire. And one of the things that I wanted to touch on was this one, is displacing Black families in 2025. This is something I think that's absolutely necessary to talk about because we are still being displaced as a group.
Yeah.
And then part of this displacement that we are seeing is really because, as we know, as the capitalist class, they control the levers of government.
Mm-hmm.
And so they go to the people who are the most disenfranchised, the most marginalized, the ones who have the least power, and they'll go take it from them because what are they going to do? Right. There's an article that I want to share first before I get into what's happening today and talking about displacement. And, anytime you want to chime in, just feel free to, but this is an article that I wanted to get into. Make sure I got it. Let me see. Yep, here it is. All right. So this is an article talking about eminent domain and the displacement of Black communities, Black families. So just to go over what has been happening historically first, and then we'll get into what's happening today. Let me make sure this is large enough so that we can see. All right. It says eminent domain displacement of Black community. It says more than a century ago, before there was today's Prince William Forest Park, there was a community of miners collectively known as the Cabin Branch community, founded after the Civil War by free Black people. The community included the two towns of Hickory Ridge and Batestown, while hundreds of small-scale farmers, laborers, and others lived in the area. Most residents were employed by the Cabin Branch Pyrite Mine, which operated from 1889 to 1920. During the Great Depression, President Franklin D. Roosevelt created the Civilian Conservation Corps and the Works Progress Administration, which, along with other programs, created many jobs to help create and maintain conservation areas. In the 1930s, despite having been home to about 150 families, the federal government purchased the land through eminent domain to create Chabosamik Recreational Development Area, later known as Prince William Forest Park, ending a 400-year history of the community in the area. So the Fifth Amendment says, nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. So this is the definition of eminent domain. It says eminent domain is the power of the government. Now, this could be city government. I'm just adding this in. It could be city government. It could be state. It could be federal. It's the power of the government to take private property and convert it to public use. The Fifth Amendment of the Constitution provides that the government must provide, quote unquote, just compensation for the property owners. However, just compensation may not always be fair, and the government is notorious for paying property owners less than market value for their properties. And so they talk about this historian, what Nancy Perry says about eminent domain in East Arlington. So I'm just going to play this for a couple minutes, and then we'll get into the rest, the remainder of this section of the article.
Okay, something else you can't see that the people lost was virtually everything they owned. Virtually everything they owned, they lost. The government didn't want it. The government wanted you to take your possessions with you, But the government notified people early February of 1942 that they had 3 weeks to get out. This is during the war, when this whole area was absolutely full of people who had come to help run the war. There was no place to move, and these folks were African American.
Now, 1942, people think that that's very far off. My grandmother was 8 years old.
Yeah, it's not that far. It's not that long ago.
1942, my grandmother was an 8-year-old little girl. So when you're talking about, oh, that was so long ago, no, it was not.
And the effects, even if it was that long ago, even if it was long ago, the effects still hurts the Black communities today. From us not being able to transport our wealth, our houses, everything that we worked for, everything that our grandfathers and our grandparents worked for has been snatched away. And as it trickles down, as new generations are born, those generations are born with the burden and born with their parents and their grandparents' debts that they have to lift themselves out of. So yes, even if it was 100,000, a million years ago, it doesn't matter, because the cause and effects still is taking a hell of a fucking a hell of a punch on the Black communities all around America, not just Detroit, not just Orlando, all around America. People are losing their homes, and from us not being able to build or keep the things that we have built, you know, the neighborhoods that we have built, all these great organizations and companies that we built in the past, we weren't able to pass that down. We weren't able to guarantee that generational wealth was going to make it to the next generation. It got lost. So it doesn't matter how long ago it was, as long as the effect is still hurting the people. That's what matters.
Yep, absolutely. Let's continue on in this.
And so they cannot just move in. I mean, if they could find a house, chances are no one was going to rent to them. They're given 3 weeks to move out. So they're cobbling together arrangements where they're moving in with their mother-in-law for a week in her guest bedroom, and then they move into their godmother's basement for a month, and then they move into someplace else for another month. I mean, all they're doing is they're just, what are they going to do? There's no place for them to go.
They're home.
And so almost virtually everybody that I spoke to lost virtually everything that they owned, because where were they going to put it? There was no place to put it. So they lost their possessions. The government didn't care, because the government said, please take your stuff. We don't need it.
So hang on. Think about that. Think about how many family heirlooms that were lost, that told our history, that told our family about certain things that we would know about ourselves. I'm going to give you a little short story. So I'm originally from New Jersey, and on my mom's side, and my grandmother, they had a house, basically a farm, in what's known as Chislehurst, New Jersey. And one of the things that they had in their possession was the family Bible. Yeah. Big Bible full of all the names of the members of the family going back generations. Unfortunately, a fire happened, and the family Bible was in that home. So all that record that was left in the Bible is now, poof, gone. It's only relegated to our memories. Now, that was because of a fire. Now, think of it when you got your house demolished because the government got eminent domain of the property, and anything that was within your family is now lost. Just think about that. Think about the connections that you have to your family that gets lost because of that.
And it's not even just that. We lost names. We lost languages. Like back when there was chattel slavery, there's languages that slaves made up in between each other, so we can talk to each other and probably in front of master and not get co-opted or not get our asses beat. It'd be a totally different language, from English and African languages. Slaves in America have made their languages, and there's only one woman. There's only one woman on this earth right now who still talk with that same with that language. Haven't been passed down. It's really hard to teach people that stuff because they're not really where they should be politically. But yeah, it's sad, man. We lost a lot. We lost a lot, and we continue to lose because the game is rigged against us. We are the backbone that not only held up this country, but was stepped on by everybody else who participate in the capitalist society.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you very much for that. Let's continue on.
Take it with you. And they couldn't because they had no place to put it. So they lost virtually everything they had. There were 3 churches, 2 big Baptist churches, and then a little Daddy Grace church. Those 2 Baptist churches, this is the Mount Zion Baptist Church. There was also a Mount Olive Baptist Church. These churches, this one, Mount Zion, was built in 1930. So this church building is only 12 years old. And they had a big plot of land around it that they owned. The Mount Olive Church was older than that, but they had done a total refurbishment of it 2 years earlier in 1940. Total refurbishment. 1942, they just leveled it. And the churches had no choice.
So a lot of people don't realize in Black churches, records are kept. Baptisms, christenings, marriages, all that, right? Yeah. And so that's gone. It's gone. You know what I'm saying? It's like that part of that history. And it's crazy how this will happen. People like me will say, okay, well, a statue of Robert E. Lee, put it in a museum. And, we don't need Confederate statues to be sitting around us like that. Oh my God, you want to erase history. Yeah, you erased our churches? Even if you're not religious, like just from a historic standpoint, you erased a pillar within the community?
Yeah.
Like that?
Because there was churches on 6 Mile on the east side that got shut down, but they got shut down during the pandemic. They never really recovered financially, but before then, those churches were still helping people with free food, tutoring their kids, all kind of shit, man. It was a lot of stuff that the Black communities in Detroit couldn't get a hold on, or really needed help with something. If you can't go donate blood to feed your family or whatnot, you can go to a church and they'll give you a whole bunch of I know if anybody got some food from the church, I know you get the corn on the cob, you get a whole bunch of beef jerky. You get some chips and candy, and it was a nice selective thing. Like if you go with a group of people, y'all refrigerator gonna be full of beef jerky and all kind of corn and shit. But it was still better than nothing, And they was only working with what they got. But yeah, the government will come and shut that shit down. Right now on the east side of Detroit, I'm gonna share the story after you. There's a Black man in Detroit. Detroit is trying to take his mansion. He built a mansion on the east side of Detroit. Yeah, he built the mansion, and this is East Warren area. East Warren, I think. Yeah, that's East Warren area. If you are familiar with the area, you know that area. That's the dead zone. We got the red zone. We got the dead zone. That's the dead zone. The dead zone basically means almost all of these houses are empty. There are no businesses. There are no jobs. There are nothing there. And when people come back, with generational wealth and want to look out for Black people and be like, hey, we building a mansion to, blah, 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 this and that. I don't know what his whole little thing was. He was so desperate that he about to write off the Trump. He's so desperate that he about to write a letter to Trump to try to get his land back. Because Democrats out here trying to steal his fucking land. It's crazy.
Wow. Thanks for filling us in on that one. All right, let's continue.
Then all of the businesses and the industries and people's work got lost. I showed you on the industry section, I showed you there was the gas and oil companies. I could tell from the census 2 people worked there. 6 people worked down in that cement plant, 11 people worked in the coal yard, and 82 people worked for West Brothers Brickyard. Well, all of those industries were leveled. So those people were out of their work. They lost their employment. And of course, the people that owned those industries lost their industries too. But then within East Arlington, there were a lot of little businesses also. There were rooming houses, there were barber shops, shoe repair shop, there were grocery stores, there were garages, and I have a pound sign for the catering because I didn't know how many. Several people told me that they had relatives who cooked meals and took them down to the brickyard and the coal yard because there were no cafeterias there and there were no restaurants there. And so these ladies would whump up huge batches of fried chicken and fried fish and stuff and carry it down there on a daily basis. I mean, the workers knew they were coming. The workers got paid on Saturday. Then the ladies who did the cooking got paid on Saturday. They all lost their jobs. They had no house. They had no kitchen anymore to cook in. And anyway, those industries were gone. So those businesses were lost, and the people who worked in those businesses lost their employment.
So as far as even when it comes to the economics, when it comes to not just our housing, but our businesses, because of eminent domain.
Yep.
And so when people talk about, oh, well, small businesses are the cornerstone of our democracy, I'm like, well, according to y'all, no, it's not. Because Black businesses were constantly being targeted. Just think about Black Wall Street. Those were small businesses. That's the cornerstone of democracy. But yet you guys don't care about that. And you guys don't even want to give reparations to the people in Tulsa.
That's why I don't believe to pull yourself up by the bootstrap bullshit, because every time we get a chance to actually tie our shoes or, put the boot on for once, they come and burn everything down. So I don't believe in pull yourself up by the bootstrap, especially when it's coming from a capitalist society who wants to keep you down, keep you in prison, and use you for cheap labor. And this is what it all trickled down to. A lot of these people have lost houses, jobs, generational wealth, and they had to go to the streets. They had to go and get it how they live, and sometimes only thing that you can do is crime. So that's what a lot of people went back to, and sold drugs, sold their body, and end up in these for-profit prisons and become a 21st century slave as a Black man or a Black woman.
Yep, absolutely. So now we're about to get into the deeper aspect, the more internal aspects of it.
Let's see if they got just compensation. If you owned your home, you were paid what the government chose to give you for your land and any improvements on the land. The churches were paid for their land and any improvements on the land. The business owners were paid for their land and any improvements on the land, again, at the price that the government set. The owners of those industries and their employees lost their work. They lost their business or lost their income. They were given nothing for that. Remember, that was one of the possible kinds of compensation, was compensating you while you get your business set up somewhere else. The government didn't do that. So they were, all of a sudden, they had no income. Not only had they lost their house, but they had no income coming in. Nobody was paid for the loss of their personal possessions. The government didn't want their personal possessions. They understood that the people had no place to put them, but that was life. So they lost they lost virtually everything they had. I guess some people were able to hang on to their clothing. Some people were able to hang on to their dishes and their cooking utensils. They could take small stuff like that, but they lost their furniture. Nobody was paid for their moving expenses. Remember, that was one of the options. And if you rented, you got nothing.
So just wanted to share that as well, and I want to take a look at this list, because if you notice something from a point of view for those of us who are, especially on the left, like socialists and communists, the people at the top are people who are the owners of the means of production that actually got compensated.
Just like the slave owners.
Mm-hmm. It's basically, what you're looking at is a pyramid.
Yeah.
Homeowners were paid for their land. Churches were paid for their land. Business owners were paid for their land. Now, if you were owned a business, but let's say you were renting your parcel out, well, you didn't get paid for your loss. And then your employees didn't get paid for their loss. No one was paid for the loss of personal possessions. So therefore, your personal possessions that got lost, well, it sucks to be you. No one was paid for moving expenses. You know how expensive it is to move these days? And then renters got nothing. Nathan, nada.
Which is majority of us.
Which is the majority of us. Right? Because a lot of Black people, we were renters. And so we were stuck. And so to have to move away, especially when you, and on top of that, how many people have to, pay for like first month's rent, deposit, and all this other different stuff. And if you got nothing, you were forced out. That means that's extra money you have to come up with, but you couldn't come up with it because you didn't have a job, because your job got taken away. This is the part that a lot of people don't talk about. And then you expect these people to pull themselves up by their bootstraps if they got kids. And then people wonder, oh, why are Black people so much in poverty? Well, on top of Jim Crow, on top of slavery, on top of Black codes, on top of redlining, on top of all these different things, mass incarceration, then you also have eminent domain that a lot of people don't want to talk about. How our homes and our businesses were taken from us. Oh, to build what? Stuff. I'm going to be real. It's stuff for white people. Yeah. That's what was taken away from us. It's stuff for the big businesses, for the corporations. And then so when we talk about, oh, well, we should get what's owed to us. Oh, well, you guys just want to take. Yeah, because you took from us. We're talking about getting back what you took. It's talk about justice. But the moment we actually want what was stolen from us, taken from us back, people scoff at us. And it's like, what?
And it's not even taken. How can I take something that you stole from me?
Yeah.
How can I take something that you stole from me? I'm just returning it to his rightful owner.
Period. That part. Anywho, I want to get into this too, because this is the emotional part about it. Because this also takes an emotional toll. And I want to humanize our community as much as we possibly can, because we talk about the statistics all the time. But let's get into the more emotional human aspect about it.
I mean, you got nothing. So you can decide if they got just compensation or not. There was another thing that actually wound up being more important than those things that I'm listing here, and that was their sense of community. And this was what I really learned from listening to people. People who were just blithely telling me this story, and then they start talking about their community, and they tear up, and they stop talking. Their community, this was such a tight community. This is during segregation, where if you needed a haircut, you couldn't go to the white beauty shop to get your haircut. You had to go to one of those 2 or 3 Black ones in your neighborhood. So your neighbor is not just your neighbor. He's also the person that gives you haircuts. And maybe you're the guy that was doing the shoe repair. Okay, well, your neighbors can't go to the white shoe repair place when they need to have their shoes resold or half sold, but they can come to you. So this community is basically holding each other together. None of them would have made it by themselves, but because they were hanging on to each other, they were getting through segregation. They were getting through the pickle that they were in. And then all of a sudden, their community just disappeared. That was what they missed. You could replace the bedroom suite they lost, or the clothes, or the books, or the toys, but they could never replace that community. And people just express that over and over to me, what a huge loss that was to them. So one person said, we lost our community. We lost our homes. We lost our work. What was lost will never be replaced. We lost that kind of close-knit community. Some people have never lived in a community, so they don't know what it is. They live in homes, but they don't know what a real community is. I've never lived in this kind.
Hold up. That was bars. They live in homes, but they don't know what a real community is.
And we got to remember, like, even not small jobs, like barbers were really, like, they were really attacked in the Black communities, because not only was they making us look good, but they were surgeons. They helped a lot. They did a lot. They was really good with their hands all around. They help you. They was doctors. They, they make you look good, make you feel good. And that was a part of the community that we actually needed, but they kept on, like, they really attacked the barbers in the Black communities and made it to where, you have to have certain licenses, you have to have this business, and you know what I'm saying, certain, all these fucking loopholes that we have to go through, knowing that we're going to be denied. We got the credentials, we've been cutting hair and sewing people up for 20 years, but when I go downtown and I try to get my credentials, I try to get everything legit, they deny us. And then once we don't have the money to, keep funding or keep the building open and keep it occupied, we got to sell it off. Or maybe they're going to take it. And who's more likely going to move in? I'm sorry, but it's Black community. More likely it's going to be a Korean, it's going to be a Arab, or a white or a white owner with a black face, with black faces in there. So yeah, that's just how it goes, especially in Detroit. Earlier in Detroit, when Black people was losing their businesses, Koreans came, take over all of it. East side of Detroit, all Korean. Beauty supplies, all Korean. Back in the early 90s, those same Korean beauty supply stores was owned and operated by Black people. And this is no dig at Korean people or Arabs. I'm just pointing out a fact.
It's true.
Y'all, they gave them special privileges in our own communities that we never benefited from. Especially loans, all kind of shit. We would never see no shit like that.
Well, I can corroborate to what Rome says is true. This is not just a Detroit issue. This is all over. Because if you look, I'm upset. I'm be real with you right now. If I need to go to the beauty supply store, right? Let's say you got a woman, she wants to go to the beauty supply store. She wants to buy some hair. She wants to buy a wig. She wants to buy, some relaxer or whatever. You go to the hair store. Who owns it? Is Koreans. Mm-hmm. If you want to go to the gas station to get yourself some gas, or you need to get a couple snacks, here in Orlando, it's not necessarily Arabs that own it. It's mostly like Southeast Asian people from Pakistan, India, or Sri Lanka, or Bangladesh, right? They're usually the ones who own the stores in like that in this area. And then on top of it, one thing that a lot of people don't realize is that it's government policy that people who are immigrants, especially brown immigrants, if they try to come here, they have to open their businesses in Black communities. They're not allowed to open businesses in white communities. Yeah. So they force them to come here. But then on top of that, they give them just a little bit more than they give the Black people by giving them things like deferred tax payments for 10 years. Go ahead, talk to Savvy, because she talked about that. So like they literally have a deferred tax payment on immigrants who travel here. But if we Black Americans, freedmen, if we want to start a business, we got to pay taxes outright. Yeah, we don't get a deferment for a decade. And so when we talk about like owning businesses, when we did own businesses, they got taken out, and then they were replaced with people who were immigrants, and then the immigrants would live among their own. Mm-hmm. So whenever they made money in the Black community, they would take that same money and move it out of the Black community and then go into their own communities. And so they were able to build themselves up off of our communities so that they can start sending their kids to private school, so they can start sending their kids to these Ivy League schools where they complain that, affirmative action, I can't get it because, I'm Asian. And next thing you know, they want to get rid of it, even though their parents literally made money off of us.
And then it gives them a false sense of reality of, why Black people couldn't do this, why Black people can't do that. If we can open up businesses, if we can do this and that in your neighborhoods, and we can gather up all this generational wealth from your neighborhoods, why can't you guys do it? It gives them that false sense of reality that Black people are lazy, not that Black people are being stolen from, not that Black people, that like thieves are literally coming at night, stealing our land, poisoning our waters, defunding our schools to the point that the kids can't even fucking read. Like I'd have met some immigrants like that, who who was on that anti-black shit. They didn't even know that they was being anti-black. They, oh, wow, black people can't do this and do that. I'm like, nigga, y'all got our contracts. What the fuck you talking about? You know what I'm saying? Y'all got our loans. If we was able to fucking build freely, we was able to build Detroit freely, even after the big three had crashed, we still would have been good as a black community. We would have had what we needed, you know, and we would have had safety nets and places to go, more houses, a house to go to if you lose this house and whatnot. But yeah, it's fucked up. But that's what capitalists do. You know, they put people against each other. They put the poorest of the poor against each other. And then they make you fight for straps. They make you fight for straps and be like, oh, you know, the black people don't like you.
And that's one of the reasons why I don't really blame the immigrants for opening businesses in our neighborhoods, because they were forced to go only where they can go. My blame goes to the people at the top that made them so that, oh, well, you can't sell in white neighborhoods. Because I'm like, because of your racism, you actually did a domino effect in harming us even more. Yep. And so my blame really goes to the people at the top, the big corporations and the corporate dictators that actually own our government. That's who I blame. And so, and yeah, Jade, this is divide and conquer. That's basically what it is. Yep. Dividing the working class, also among color lines, so that they can conquer. But I would just want to finish this part up, and then we'll get into the modern day exactly of what's going on. This is just a historical background, but let's continue.
Kind of real community. I've lived in a home, you know, because I can go to whatever beauty shop I want to. These folks knew something special that most of us have never experienced, and then they lost it. Everybody that was in East Arlington, they got a place to stay, but it just tore up that community. Some of those people, you never did see them again because people scattered in all directions. They never came back here. When East Arlington got leveled, that really broke that community up. I just heard this over and over and over. That was the thing that really got lost. And that would have been a demoralization cost for the government to pay them for that. Needless to say, the government didn't pay them for that.
So for the most part, that's what I wanted to play. As far as the background, right, about the eminent domain and what it does to black communities, because a lot of people don't talk about, and a lot of times the eminent domain is also built, especially for the interstate highways system that we have. A lot of those highways go through what was black neighborhoods. So whenever you're driving, it could be I-95, it could be, you know, the 105, it could be I-4, I-75, whatever. Most likely, you're driving through former black neighborhoods.
Yep. Actually, the first freeway was built here in Detroit that went straight through a really wealthy black community. Like these are the people that was working for the big three out here, and they was those houses was fucking nice back in the days, man. Those houses was nice. And they knocked them down for a freeway, knocked them down for a park, knocked them down for this. You know, and I'm like, you know, Detroit is a big city, but we don't need all these damn freeways. These are just, you know, ways of covering up them, you know, knocking down and burning down black communities. Like up here in Michigan, I forget what city it was in Michigan, but black people had an island, a black utopia. We had luxury. You know what I'm saying? Like I gotta find that story, but it was a island up here in Michigan that black people, basically black people who had money, they was going up there. They had shit together. You know, they stunting. They got their chains. They go. You know what I'm saying? The fucking Gucci's. You know what I'm saying? Detroit Gucci. I mean, the Gators. Penny loafers and shit. You got all the rich people, all the rich black people coming out, you know, spreading their wealth, showing love and shit like that. They burnt that bitch the fuck down. They like, hell no, we can't have this shit. Hold on, I want to share one thing with you. This is what I was talking about in Detroit right now. This is a big, like, I drove past this house a couple of times, bro. This is a big ass property, bro. Wow. I mean, it is huge. It's like a half a block
Wow.
It is huge in real life.
To build my business and my family.
Sorry.
To build my business and my family homes right here on Lakewood and Chalmers. What I need to share with you, it may cost me my life, and I pray that it doesn't cause any harm to my family. Inside these envelopes is the documents, and you're not going to believe what the mayor, Mike Duggan, and the devilish Detroit Land Bank has done. They have literally taken my home.
Wow.
So it don't even matter if you're rich anymore. It don't even matter because he got money. He owned a company. Not a concrete. He basically built shit around Detroit. You know, he built some beautiful. He built some beautiful shit, bro. He got some good work. He got money. He got money. It don't even matter if you got money. It don't even matter if you can play the game. If you pulled yourself up by the bootstrap, the government will find a way to put the fist down on your black ass. They will take your goddamn land. They will take your house. They will take your wealth. Everything that this man worked for. He probably old enough to be our dad. And they just taking this shit because, and it was another video I seen. And it was like, somebody came out from the city was like, oh man, you got to clean this up and blah, blah. This is why we having problems. Like, what, nigga? Like, y'all gonna take this man land because because he got a couple of, you know, they saying the house is empty, nobody's in the house, and you know, it's basically trash around the house. Of course it's trash around the house. He's building a fucking mansion. Like they finding any fucking petty ass way to come after this man. Now, when I get back to the east side, I'm gonna try to find this man. I know exactly where that house is, and I'm gonna try to get him on the show. RBN, because we definitely got to help him out in some way, and maybe we can collaborate with him on some future projects and whatnot. Because man, it's hard, man. It don't matter, bro. Like niggas think, oh, I got my money, I'm good. Like no, it don't work like that. You don't own a means of your production. You know what I'm saying? You don't own your land. It's owned by a bank. Anything that's given to you by this capitalist society will be taken from you by this capitalist society. This is why we have to push for socialism in black communities. And we have to push for black power in these black communities because black excellence is the reason why we are here. Black excellence is not black power. Black excellence is just a nigga getting rich, a nigga getting money. I done seen that. I got niggas that got money. You know what I'm saying? But is they doing anything to uplift the community with that money? Is they putting it back into, no, is they building jobs? Is they building anything? What the fuck are they doing? The only reason why they got money right now is because they're selfish. Because they're selfish. You can't expect somebody with excellence to do anything for you. You know, so
and let me add to your point. Don't you come up to us and talk about, oh, well, this black person, they do this foundation, they do that foundation. I'm not talking about these tax deductible foundations that they can just continue to keep their money off of. Like, nah, I'm talking about actual people who actually really do help their community in a mutual aid fashion. Yeah. Right? You can point to any one of these billionaires. Oh, well, they give to this and they give to that. No. Without actually having to disclose it on your tax form. That's what it is.
They getting that shit
where it doesn't benefit you at all. Come see me when you actually do something that doesn't have any benefit to you whatsoever. And it's actually to help uplift people so that we can actually control our own. Man. So here's the modern day. Because people are like, wait, they're still doing this in 2025? Yes, they're still doing this in 2025. And let me share you guys this news story that I saw. This is out of Georgia. And a lot of people are, missing this. And it's like, nah, bro, you guys got to take a look. This is Georgia road project forcing homeowners out. Let's take a look.
Developing at 6, the fight to stay in their homes continues for a group of residents in Villa Rica. They could be forced to move as a proposed road project gets set, as of now, to go right through their properties. If it's allowed, to proceed. It's a fight. It's been going on for years, and Fox 5's Kim Leffler has been sharing their concerns. Kim, very frustrating for them.
Yeah, it really has been. This is not the first time residents have spoken out about the Mirror Lake Connector project. Some of those families have owned these properties for decades, and that's why residents say they plan to continue to fight to stay in their homes. With signs in tow, these residents made their voices heard Saturday, fighting to stay in their homes.
They have no answers for our community. Only thing they want to do is find ways to take.
The city of Villa Rica wants to extend the Mirror Lake Connector through the spot where homes currently sit. The goal is to connect the Douglas County side of Villa Rica to the downtown area. But residents say they're not leaving, with many of these families owning these homes for decades.
They're not going to take it. They're going to have to pay for it. But we don't want to move. My sister and them don't want to move, and they will not.
They've been talking for more than a year saying they don't want this. Residents from Mirror Lake have even come over and said, we didn't ask for this.
Hold up. Wait a minute. We didn't even ask for it. And yet they're trying to take it away. And here's the crazy part. Here in Orlando, they were proposing to create a homeless shelter across the street from the office for the election office, right? The supervisor of elections office. There was supposed to be a homeless shelter that they're proposing to be built there. The people who live further from that, which is on the east side of Orange Avenue, who live in the Delaney area, they literally have it's a mostly white neighborhood, and they got money, and they're like, no, we don't want you guys to build that over there. Meanwhile, the shelter is on the west side of Orange Avenue, where it's the Paramore area, 32805, which is basically one of the most economically displaced areas in Central Florida, and they don't get a say. And so they said, no, we're not building that homeless shelter. You guys can't do it. And so they got a say, but the people who's actually going to be mostly impacted don't. And so this is the exact same thing, right? The black people who are saying, no, we don't want this, but the city still wants to go through with it. That's theft. That's theft. Because if I take something from you, if you have something for sale, if you have something and I'm like, I would like to buy that from you, and you go, it's not for sale. If I take it from you and I just put a couple of dollars in your hand and walk away with it, is that actually a sale or is that theft?
Like, man, give me this shit.
I mean, they're deboning people's houses right now. That's exactly what they're doing. That's my chain, motherfucker. That's basically what they're doing. Wait, what are you doing in my house? What house?
I won, give me my money. You what? I lost. Oh man, what the hell? Did this nigga just leave me on his show? Fuck it, we taking over? Oh.
I don't know what happened. Might be the feds, you know. But yeah, so it's crazy when you think about it. They just ripping stuff out of people's possession. Now let's continue on.
Same thing is happening in Boston. Boston is racist as fuck. Oh my God, that's probably the most racist city I've been to. I think they might be more racist than Maine. You okay, JB? JB?
Hold up.
Oh.
Wait. I'm sorry. Let me go back. Sorry. My bad. Go back to this part. Sorry about that.
to push this forward.
Residents also say there's been a lack of transparency from the city. Back in December at a community meeting, interim city manager Diana DeSanto said the project was needed due to growth in the area. In that meeting, she also said she hopes to come to a compromise with residents. She told Fox 5 days later she wished the city had been more open about their plans from the beginning.
I wish we'd done better. I wish we'd done a better job of communicating from the very beginning.
Residents say they will continue.
Hold on. I want to, like, I wish we'd done better.
Do it. Just do better. What the fuck you gonna wish? Oh, I wish I was better, man. I wish I can just, not take people out their homes.
I'm sorry. I hate to sound like this, but makes me want to quote Cat Williams' character in Next Friday. Don't be sorry, ho, be careful. That's how I feel. It's like, what? Like, do better. Like, how about just not take their homes? Like, you know what I mean?
You know what I would do if somebody took my home? I got a nice little condo. If the bank just came and took it, I'm burning it down. I'm gonna burn it down. I'm gonna get rid of it because they're gonna have to rebuild. You know what I'm saying? Something gonna shake. So this is why I say to everybody, to everybody, if they take your shit, remember, it is still yours. I don't give a damn what these laws talking about. That is your shit. That is your home. That is your land. And if you can't live on it, they can't neither. If you can't live on it, they can't either. Burn that motherfucker down. Cause ain't no way you about to have your children homeless. You gonna go back to your mama? Do she got a house? Do your daddy got a house? You gonna stack up with your cousins? You gonna be couch surfing? Fuck that. Fuck that. Burn it down. Burn it down. Don't give up just like that. And that's one thing I do hate is people just like, oh, well, fuck it. There's nothing else we can do. Oh, there's a lot of things that you can do. There's a lot of things you can do. Or you can just go to their houses. They don't live that far away from the city. Protest. Do something. Make them homeless. Make them homeless because you got to think about it like this. I'm not being petty or violent. This is self-defense. Kicking people out of their homes, taking generational wealth from them is violence. It's violence to almost the highest degree. It is violence, especially in these fucking times when nobody can afford any damn thing. You can't just pick up and leave and move like how you could back in the early 2000s or the late 90s. You can't do that shit. They are inciting violence upon you and your family and your future generations, your grandchildren.
Yep, absolutely.
Even the playing field, burn down their houses if they take yours. House for a house, let's do it because they're not going to stop doing this shit until they realize that, oh, okay, well, these people ain't playing because, what else you got to lose? House? Nigga.
Let's continue. Let's finish this up.
Continue to speak out.
They're displacing a whole bunch of people. My daddy is a disabled veteran, served his country, and now has to worrying about if he has a place to go.
The mayor of Villa Rica did not wish to comment on today's protest. We also are still waiting to hear back from the interim city manager. At the live desk, Kim Loeffler.
So basically, that is essentially what's going on in 2025. And people talk about, oh, well, don't talk about race, just talk about class. I'm like, this is class. But it's race intersected. That's the problem. That some people don't want to acknowledge. And it keeps happening over and over and over again, especially to the most marginalized. And I'm not saying it doesn't happen in white areas, but I'm saying it's easier to do it in black areas because they care less about us.
Shit, we're going through gentrification right now. On top of all this intimate domain bullshit, we got gentrification kicking our asses.
Yeah.
Eminent
domain, gentrification. We got climate. You got pollution,
Mm-hmm.
That's happening in our neighborhoods. I'll be talking about that as well in a later segment. But it's all these different things that a lot of people they want to overlook. And this has been going on for a while. And let me share this while I'm at it. Because a lot of people, because that's why I wanted to go through the history of eminent domain. So this is the same article from the news report that we just saw. It says Mirror Lake Connector project will face renewed scrutiny at Villa Rica City Council meeting. So this was actually at the end of last year. The news report we just saw came out a few days ago. So it says the city halted the project to look for alternative routes that would be involved in eminent domain. However, no alternative routes could be found. The city may decide to resume the project. It says eminent domain is a conversation. That was city manager Diana DeSanto says, I don't think it's on the table for all the council. So it says Villa Rica has been advised by its attorneys that it cannot get out of its contract to complete the road project that will connect Douglas County, part of Villa Rica, to the Carroll County part of downtown Villa Rica. If connector road is not built, the judge will force the city to build a connector road. But here's the thing. So now a judge will force the city to build a connector road, but whose neighborhood is that going to go through?
Yours.
Because a judge deemed it? That should have never happened in the first place.
It's going to your neighborhood, nigga.
Yeah. Cam White says it couldn't be a dollar amount that the city would ever offer me. The memories here. This is our heritage. She says her home has been in her family for more than 70 years. Whether eminent domain is used or not, she does not want to go. She and neighbors will hope to find lawyers to fight the project. So essentially, you're taking people's heritage away. And especially from all the people in the South who talk about Confederacy and this is my heritage, blah, blah, blah. You're willing to preserve your heritage by preserving something that is about owning people. And yet you get mad at us when we want to preserve our heritage, which does not involve owning people, but it's just us embracing our family and our lineage.
And because that is the heritage. They are colonizers by blood. That shit don't change. Like that shit is it's a trait. Like being a coon is a trait. We have black coons now because niggas was snitching to master. And those motherfuckers gave birth to the coons that you see today. We have the same motherfuckers, same white motherfuckers that was racist, that was doing all kind of bullshit, still giving birth to the cracker today. That shit is a trait. That colonizer is a trait. You know what I'm saying? Cooning is a trait. It is passed down from generation to generation, and that's why you don't see too many black people so involved in community or black power and stuff like that anymore, because the leaders are dead. The niggas dead. Half of the niggas didn't even get a chance to reproduce by the time, you know what I'm saying? Like they was young, bro. We got to think about it. Fred Hampton was 21, bro. He was 21. That's a little bit older than my youngest brother. My youngest brother. He was 21 years old and they capped his ass. All of our leaders gone. This is why, this is why we don't see too many black people doing what they was doing nowadays, because they killed the black male that was spreading good traits throughout their families, throughout the black communities, and birthing more black people that was willing to link up with black people and preach what socialism is, preach what black power is. But now you have a whole bunch of black people talking about, Democrats. Like, yeah, that shit is a trait. That shit passed down generation after generation. And this is why, a lot of people got mad at me during my documentary when I said, yeah, I'm willing to work with racist people. But I wish I really said. I'm gonna clear this up on my next one. But all white people are racist until they are not. You know what I'm saying? It's not enough just to be anti-racist or pro-black. You have to dismantle. You have to work to dismantle the system. You know what I'm saying? That's what makes it better. So until, because we have leftists out here today who refuse to educate their people. They have uncles who's MAGA. They have mothers and sisters, brothers that's Republican. And instead of educating these people, they get into shouting matches and just cut them off from, talking to them. And we have to deal with them. We have to deal with your dumbass grandma harassing me at the grocery store. We have to deal with your racist ass uncle. We have to deal with your racist ass grandparents. So it's not enough to just block or just not talk to your MAGA uncle anymore. You have to dismantle not only their thought process and re-educate these people, but you have to dismantle the system that this whole fucking shit was built on. So until that shit is happening, I'm gonna call a spade a spade. You know what I'm saying? Because you can say it be some leftists over here saying some racist shit and they don't even know it. They don't even fucking know it. They don't know that they are repeating racism, especially when it comes to black activists, man. Like, I ain't about to get on that. Fuck. I ain't about to get on that. Fuck that.
Yeah, but a lot of what you said is absolutely true. And the gentrification and the eminent domain has actually happened here in Orlando too. Let me share this with y'all too, because it's happening. So all to build a soccer stadium. That was it. That was what was over. This came out. This is 9 years old. It says Orlando leaders announced that they are dropping an eminent domain lawsuit against Paramore Church that was standing in the way of the Major League Soccer Stadium. This is a black church that is not too far from me. That they said, you know what? We don't want to sell. The Faith Deliverance Temple on West Church Street repeatedly refused the city's offer to buy its land near the proposed Major League Soccer Stadium. They say, we are announcing today that we are dropping the eminent domain proceedings that were initiated related to Faith Deliverance Temple. That was from Buddy Dyer, the mayor. If we continue negotiations with the church, I'm not sure that we would have had the stadium available for the 2016 season. Under this scenario, we'll be able to break ground in the fall. He says city officials have been in negotiations with church owners for about a year. The owners said their last offer was $4 million for a property appraised at $695,000. Rome, you're going to laugh. They said the church turned down the offer and instead asked for $35 million.
Hell yeah. You got me fucked up.
Yeah. Yeah. 35. Like nah, you're not going to shortchange us this way.
$4 million. Look how much money they're about to make. Yeah, they about to make millions in just a year. Millions in just a year. All the sponsorships and the military, funding, our entertainment programs. But this is just the thing, like Chris said, it's always nonsense with stadiums. The sport teams owners can't even afford them. Not only that, it's not about what you can afford. You know what I'm saying? Look, my baby, it's not about that. This is circus and peanuts. Circus and peanuts while the empire is falling. And one thing that you don't want is people paying attention. You need people watching that basketball, watching football, watching soccer, and getting all the entertainment from the television. You don't need them on the internet looking up shit, looking up what's going on in Palestine. We need peanuts and circus. The empire's falling. And one thing that empires did successfully, I would say, is distract the fucking people from the fact that they are falling. Like, people don't actually believe that America is falling, even with all these like y'all think y'all about to go on a trade war against China, where we get 80% of our raw materials from. And they just passed the law to make it Chinese corporations can copyright American-made clothes. They can copyright our clothes. They don't even need the domain, the patent, none of that shit. They don't need us. Y'all gonna fall. It's gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard. But yes, this is Circus and Peanuts, my baby. This is all Circus and Peanuts. Enjoy the show. Enjoy the show while the bombs drop. You know what I'm saying? Eat your wiener while we drop bombs on kids. Oh, nigga.
Don't say that too loud, bro.
Eat
Don't say that too loud. This is a family
Put
show.
them nuts in your mouth. Put them wieners and them nuts in your mouth, nigga. While we motherfucking killing all across this goddamn world, and our motherfucking economy is in a goddamn shitter.
But I mean, you know, you're giving a great point. I mean, you know, a lot of times, you know, it's all about, you know, putting the money towards bread and circuses, right? That, you know, they want to keep you entertained, clapping like seals. What did Samuel L. Jackson say during the halftime show? This is America's game. Like it is, you know. Anyway, let me finish this part because I want to get into this too.
Oh shit.
Oh gosh, we be having a time on this show. Rome.
I ain't said nothing bad. Hey, I said the good words. I used the TikTok words.
The city official said Monday that they will shift the planned stadium slightly to the west on the land that was the former site of the Carver Theater Department. Says the city purchased the land on July 28th for $2 million from the Black Businesses Investment Fund. The BBIF failed to develop the land over the course of 8 years and still owes the city $878,000. Dyer said the Orlando City Soccer Club president, Phil Rollins, said that the new site will work better for the $110 million stadium. That stadium is going to cost us $110 million, and they wanted to give a church $4 million. I'm sorry, what? A historic church in the middle of downtown Orlando, and you guys want to give them $4 million, and you're building a $110 million soccer stadium? By the way, while we're at it, because I live here in Orlando, our international games aren't even played there. They don't even play our international games there. It's only the national games. You know where the international games are played? Camping World Stadium, just a few blocks away. And instead, they could have repurposed it for all soccer games to be played at Camping World. So then you can have just one stadium for all the soccer games, right? But instead, no, they said, no, we're going to have two stadiums, one exclusively for soccer, and then one we're going to have for multi-purpose. And I'm like, why do we have these two stadiums? It don't make no damn sense. So we spent $110 million for the stadium and then moved out the entire Black neighborhood for what?
$110 million, you can just rebuild the fucking Black community.
We built all of Paramore, Westmoreland, Lee Avenue, all that out there, right? You could have at least gave scholarships to all the students that were going to Jones High School, which is a predominantly Black high school. You could have made it so that they get a free ride to college or trade school. You could have helped build up the entire area surrounding Rock Lake, surrounding Old Winter Garden Road, and maybe even help some of the businesses on OBT. But instead, you want to build a soccer stadium. And by the way, I'm gonna be real with you. Let's call it a thing. Whenever I see a soccer game, you know who I see mostly that are attendees that go into that soccer game? White people.
Niggas ain't watching no damn soccer. Well, not niggas in America, but you know, African niggas, they love some soccer. But niggas in America I don't even watch sports at all.
And here's the thing. It's cool, you know, fine. But my thing is, like, you're using that money when you guys already renovated Camping World already. Camping World was already renovated. And you guys could have just used that to do the soccer games, the national ones and the regional ones. So now you have 2 stadiums that you use for soccer games? Wait, what? Doesn't make any sense. And so this is the whole thing. It's really almost as if they do it for the sole purpose of benefiting certain communities while displacing Black communities. Mm-hmm. And then on top of it, it's, well, we just want to bring more money in for the city. And I'm like, okay, you want to bring in more money for the city, but who is it mostly going towards? Who is it benefiting the most?
Right. And we got to
pay for us. And by the way, Buddy Dyer has been mayor of Orlando for 22 years.
That nigga a king. So we don't get no schools. If they want to put money in the fucking city, if they want to bring back money, bring back the jobs. You know what I'm saying? Get people grants, get people loans, help them build their fucking properties, help them build their fucking companies up. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Put more money into schools where people can get educated for the better of America. You're gonna have a generation that's have to lead, but also isn't competent because they dumb as fuck.
Yeah,
can't read, can't write.
Mm-hmm.
So what the fuck? We don't get no schools. We don't get no hospitals. We don't get any clinics. We get stadiums and cop cities.
Yep. And Orlando police gets trained by the IDF.
Yeah.
By the way, just to let everybody know, Orlando is a Democrat-run city.
Same here in Detroit.
Yeah. Yeah. Buddy Dyer's a Democrat. And most of the city council are Democrats. Mm-hmm. Yup. Orange County, the mayor of Orange County, which Orlando is in, Jerry Demings, husband of former Congress member Val Demings, Democrat, and former Orange County sheriff. All Democrats. This is a Democrat-controlled area. And people want to go, oh my God, but Democrats do things so much better when it comes to minorities. Oh yeah? Talk to the people in Paramore. I'm not saying Republicans are better at all. I'm saying both parties work alongside with each other to screw over the American people. That's the problem, and a lot of people don't want to talk about it.
Disney runs Orlando, Disney runs Florida. Jace,
yeah.
Disney runs Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Katie's part of the Orlando chapter of RBN. He says, and he's Black and a Q. I think part of the Black fraternity organization. But yeah. Jay says, I always thought it was a Disney-run city. Technically, because the corporations are the ones that own it. But yeah, Disney has a huge influence over Orlando. So that's one of the things that I wanted to talk to you guys about. You know, a lot of times we talk about, and I'm gonna be real with you, I'm sick and tired of people go, don't talk about race, only talk about class. When in reality, being Black and American in this country is a class.
And I don't listen to that because that's that racism on the left that motherfuckers say, oh, well, you know, we shouldn't stop dividing us. Who the fuck is dividing? Who has been the motherfucker dividing us? You know what I'm saying? If I'm speaking on my experience as a Black man in America, how the fuck is that dividing us? It's just the thing is, a lot of these so-called leftists and communists, they still have racist traits in them, and they can't see, like first of all, they don't want us with a megaphone. They don't want us to be the ones, you know what I'm saying, voicing these concerns and being the front line and the leaders of these fights. You know, this is why a lot of these white leftists don't fuck with us at all. Like, we'd never see them on the ground. They'll never invite us to the show. None of that shit. If me speaking on experience is dividing, then you're just fucking racist. If you can't hear, you know, the story of how we came up and what we're going through at the moment, and you say that this is dividing, that's not dividing anybody. Because I know tons of fucking white people who probably talk more shit about Black, who talk shit about Black shit more than me. It's just that you in your heart, you know what you are. You know what you are. You know what I'm saying? You need to work on that. It ain't about, divided. Nigga, we been divided. We been divided. We was born in fucking segregation. You know what I'm saying? Our cities are still segregated to this fucking day. If you come to Detroit, go on 8 Mile and ask a nigga, hey, should I go walk across 8 Mile? They be like, hell no. Why? Because it's a sundown town right next to Detroit, one of the blackest cities in fucking America. Soon as you cross 8 Mile, your ass getting pulled over. Your ass getting stopped by the cops. You getting harassed. Our cities are segregated to this day. There's more sundown towns in Michigan than there is in Florida. So how the fuck do I not talk about that? How the fuck do I not talk about my people going through so much to the point that they are starving? They're living like cavemen. They can't afford shoes. They can't afford food. They can't afford clothes. How the fuck do I not talk about a little black girl or a little black boy that reminds me of me? You know, and you telling me this is going to split us up. No, nigga, you're just racist. You're just racist and you need to work on yourself because ain't no fucking race of people have been dividing anybody like how the white community have. If you're going to fucking put the blame on anybody for splitting up anything, blame your peers, blame your parents, blame your family members. Even on the fucking internet to this day. Look at all these white motherfuckers. Open Nazis. Open Nazis. Is that not dividing us? They talking about that little black boy didn't deserve to defend himself. He shouldn't have stabbed him. But he was defending himself the whole time. And you got whole fucking Nazis talking shit about black people and our culture. Is that not dividing us? I find it funny how you motherfuckers only come over here to the left where we unite motherfuckers all across this fucking country. You come to the left and tell us the candidate. No, nigga, this is our fucking life. And I'm going to tell you whether you like it or not. So if you're going to put blame on any group of people for dividing people, blame it on your fucking ancestors because they are the reason why we are in this predicament right now. They are the reasons why we are so fucking broke right now. They are the reasons why my neighborhood is getting gentrified. They are the reasons why we are dropping bombs on kids. They continue to vote these people into power, keep these people into power, and then we call them out and you say, hey, it could be worse. It could be worse. No, nigga, it could be better. Fuck out of here with that bullshit. I'm going to speak on my experience as a black man in America. And if you feel like it divides you, then go back to the fucking right where you belong. Because one thing that we don't do is we don't shut down any marginalized voices. We don't shut down minority voices. We hear them out. We work with them and we try to make things better. Sometimes you're not going to hear what you're not going to like. You're not going to hear everything that you like coming from me. Even a fucking communist. I'm not going to agree with you on every fucking thing. You know what I'm saying? But that's the whole fucking point. And another fucking thing for you white Marxists, stop treating this shit like a religion. It is a science. Marxism is a science. It can be worked on. It can be updated. Marx would have never, he had a lot of predictions, but he would never see this shit happening right now. Right now, what's going on? Do you think Marx would have an answer for drone warfare? Marxism is a science. It can be updated. It can be wrong. Stop going off, oh, well, Marx said this and that's that. Nigga, I look up to Malcolm. Am I fucking Muslim? The fuck? Fuck y'all. But yeah, I'm sorry, JB, for going off. But yeah, y'all need to stop that shit. We don't shut down no voices. We hear everybody out. And if you're uncomfortable, you need to work on your inner self. That's on you, not me. Because if I tell you the city is killing me, the country want me dead, and you say, oh, you're trying to divide us up. What? Nigga, we are already divided. I'm trying to get us together. I'm trying to get us together. We are all poor together. And look at all this shit. Look at all this shit. Look at y'all want to talk about divide and conquer? Look at all the fucking things that white people have missed out for themselves just because black people was going to benefit from it. Higher education, parks, pools,
healthcare,
Medicare for all. And believe it or not, reparations. Yes, reparations will help the white communities too in America. It's going to generate revenue. We're going to put money back into our cities. We won't have to go back into your cities. I won't have to rob your white ass no more. I won't have to run down on you. I ain't got to steal your bike. I ain't got to steal your car. White people benefit from reparations as well. But if you're going to keep holding us back, hey, you get what's coming. You get what's coming.
Yeah, and one more thing, if you're not willing to acknowledge the harm that's done to different marginalized groups and be able to see their perspective through their eyes, then that means that you're lacking in empathy for these people. Like, for instance, I don't know what it's like to be trans, but I'm willing to listen to them. And just because I don't understand it doesn't mean it doesn't make it any less valid. You know what I mean? I don't know what it's like to be a woman, but I'm willing to, have respect. And also, if somebody is disparaging other groups by using slurs and things like that, especially in regards to certain groups, then, and you're not willing to check that person who is among you, that's a comrade, then you're becoming part of the problem. You're becoming part of the problem, and you're literally dividing the working class. So this is something that a lot of people, especially on the left, need to realize, is that you have to have empathy for people who are marginalized because of the capitalist system that has caused us to be marginalized in the first place. And see that the intersection of identity and class are valid, because we live in, like what Lex said on Sunday on RBN, we live in a melting pot. All the other societies that have turned to socialism, 9 times out of 10, they're homogenous. They're homogenous societies. And so therefore, the United States is very unique that we're not. So therefore, we have to do socialism at a different angle. And so therefore, you also have to focus on the intersections. And please don't come to me with intersectionality was created by a liberal named Kimberly Crenshaw. I don't care if she was liberal. She was right when it comes to intersectionality, when it comes how class and race and the intersections of different identities come to play. Just because she was a liberal doesn't mean she was wrong on that. So that's the whole thing, right? Now I'm getting worked up. But yeah, so I wanted to bring that out. And I'm going to end this segment right here because I think it's important that people realize what we go through as a people. And I just want to thank you for all those points that you made, Rome. Go ahead and give a like to the stream, everybody. Thank you so very much. Appreciate it. Do you mind if I do the Patreon shout out real quick and then we go into the
I was actually about to I gotta go make some moves, man. I gotta go drop. It was good. I'm glad that you had me on, man. I needed to get that out. Thank you all for coming. Please like, share, subscribe. This is a great show. This is a great show. A lot of education going on. I'm gonna be watching in the background on my way to go drop. But yeah, man, peace and love to everybody. I love y'all. I should be on tomorrow. I missed 2 shows so far, but I've been a little bit busy. But I will be back on RBN, and I'm trying to work on getting guests. I know I usually don't do guests. I think I did 1 guest in the whole history of RBN. I think I did 1 guest. That was Rathbone.
No, you did Chuck D.
Oh yeah, Chuck D. Yeah. Oh yeah. Slank. Yeah, okay. That was a funny. That nigga want to talk about shit. My mama had texted me like, "What the fuck is this nigga talking about?"
I'm not trying to relive it right now. I'm not trying to relive it.
She's like, "What the fuck is this nigga talking about, man?" I was like, "I don't know, mama." I was high when I did that interview, But all right, y'all. I love y'all, man. Thank you for having me on, JB, man.
All right, bro. I'll catch you later.
All right, man.
All right, bye-bye. All right, folks. So before we get into the comments, I want to get into the patron shout out. Thank you guys so very much for sitting with us through that segment. We need to get that out. That was cathartic. So yeah. So we're gonna go through the shout outs for the patrons, and then we will get going. So here are the tiers. All right. So for the patrons, we have Mega Jaybefaunters, Super Duper Jaybefaunters, Super Jaybefaunters, Jaybefaunters, Comrade, Solidarity, and JB members. And thank you and welcome to new member Simon Santiago Marchan Diaz. Yes. Thank you so very much for joining in and appreciate it. Just to let you guys know, also, my channel is demonetized. So if you like to support the channel, you can support via Patreon or PayPal. Thank you very much. Let's get into the comments in the chat, shall we? Let me check to see if we have any Rumble rants really quick. If we do have any Rumble rants, then I'll read those. Let me see. Looks like we're good on the Rumble side. All right. I just want to make sure. All right, let's go to the comments in the chat. Whew. All right, so we were talking about eminent domain, right? Let me see. All right. Nicolika says occupational licensing and the racist war on drugs are designed to prevent Black people from getting away from poverty. That's part of it. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, how many women that do hair out of their homes? Because if they actually had a storefront shop, they would get shut down. But they can do hair like nobody's business, right? They can, boy, let me tell you, and you go over their house, you smell that whiff of either Luster's pink lotion or you smell some of that relaxer. And those of you who are Black, y'all know what relaxer smells like. You will never be able to forget that smell. Or you smell, the hot comb on the stove, right? Those of us who are Black dudes, we have our senses. It brings in memories, right? Kate Mack says it's like that in Massachusetts too. I don't doubt it. And from what I heard, Massachusetts can be very racist. Oh my gosh. I heard Massachusetts, some people in Massachusetts can be racist as hell. Bobby says Black people in power need to stop selling out. They will not stop selling out if it means that they can selfishly take more without having to provide for the material conditions of other people, even their own. That's why the system needs to change. But yeah, I agree. Let me see what else. Chrissy says parts of Bridgeport, Connecticut have a notable Black neighborhoods, but most businesses are owned by Puerto Ricans or Dominicans. Jamaicans and Haitians got a lot of ish for zero reason. Unfortunately, it's because they are immigrants. And immigrants get actually more benefits, especially when it comes to programs, than those of us who are Black American freedmen. And it's not their fault. It's just like when you have a child who is used to getting more than the other child, you don't necessarily blame the kid, you blame the parent, because the parent's not giving equally or equitably to both of their kids. And so it's sad, but that's how it is, because the resentment is the goal. The resentment is so that we are resenting other groups, and then they in turn embrace whiteness because that's how you get ahead in this country. And so therefore they start embracing more anti-Black sentiments. And so they do anti-Blackness to us, and then we see them, and then we see how they're getting a little bit more. And so it's almost like, well, F you then. And so then we want to stick war with our own because we don't feel like there's any solidarity between the groups. And so it create a division among us, and then on top of that, United States immigration will pick certain people out of these countries who are migrating here, people who typically have higher education and then also who have money. They don't pick, the people who are working class at the same level or a comparable level as us. So therefore, when they come over, they already have these more right-wing, more, bigoted views. And so then they just reinforce it, it here versus, the people who aren't, they're unable to come here, right? They get stuck. The only way they can come here is, by coming here as undocumented immigrants. So it's just sad, and it's not all of them by no means. It's just a trend that the United States tries to bring in certain people because they're afraid of socialism. They're afraid of communism. They're afraid of working class solidarity and people who are willing to see themselves in others. That's what they're afraid of. And so they're trying to get as many people who aren't of that mind or don't have that idea and bring them in. Problem is that some people, they wise up and they learn, wait, like we're still being, displaced by this government that hangs on white supremacy. And so some of them, they learn, some of them haven't learned their lesson yet, but yeah, unfortunately, that's part of the whole system. It's a system that's created resentment between groups. They do that on purpose. Katie Lewis says, many people know about the Tulsa Massacre of 1921, but forget that when the Greenwood District built itself back up, it was destroyed again to develop an interstate in 1950s, 1960s. Yeah, the interstate highway system was one of the worst things that ever happened to Black communities, one of the worst things. And it was really just as a means for the United States military to be able to traverse across the country just in case if shit went down. That was pretty much the whole goal of the interstate highway system. Let me see. Just go to somebody I've been, let me see. That's a good question, Charles. He says, I wonder if you could collect insurance if you get property taken by eminent domain. I say that you should be able to, because you're literally losing it by force. It's not something that you're willing. You know what I mean? I think that you should be able to make an insurance claim and get paid for insurance because they're going to tear down that house anyway. So if it's going to get taken away by eminent domain, you should be able to claim it on your insurance and they should pay you. It feels wrong that that they do that. And then yes, I will go to the DMs. Roger, let me go here. Let me see. All right, so Roger says land ownership is way more important than owning the businesses that businesses sit on. The Jewish people figured that out. Abolish property tax, the tax used from cell towers to pay for schools that is multiplied by municipal public bank. Members of worker co-ops. Hang on, is this showing? Sorry, reading it without showing. It continues, members of worker co-ops would not vote to replace their jobs with automation without at least creating new positions in the company for what the human can start doing while the automation takes over what they used to do, nor vote to outsource their jobs. The people would be the economic engine of the state and municipality, thus making it harder to run roughshod over our rights using eminent domain. Encourage public banks to partner with credit unions and local community banks to act as a replacement to insurer to FDIC, offering to local community banks and credit unions at least double of what their federal government is guaranteeing their clients when it comes to money they have in their savings and checking accounts, but on the condition that they approve loans for startup cooperatives at interest rates lower than what they would offer traditional startup businesses, be they worker, consumer, producer, housing, retail, multi-stakeholder, or any subgroup that falls under those main titles. Should any of those cooperatives go under within the first 5 years of startup, then the public bank will absorb the impact of that losses by fulfilling what is owed to the credit union and local community bank so that they will not take a hit. It says the nation's poorest state used welfare money to pay Brett Favre for speeches he never made. Ooh, I got to talk about that. And yes, it was me, Rome, and Slank that were in the interview with Chuck D. So yeah, that was the one we were talking about. I think you were in the chat for that one, Roger. Michael Pan says it is important to exercise your Second Amendment rights. I agree. Safely, make sure you have your lock boxes and your safeties and all that, but safely, okay? And keep them in a spot away from young people. And I say young people because teenagers too, because teenagers will do some stupid stuff. Anyway, Kate Max says millionaires buy up all their apartment buildings and make them luxury housing for the rich and raise rents to push out the poor onto the streets. And also businesses that there have been there forever are forced out. Yeah, absolutely. And that's the sad part. I know you weren't expecting me to put this on the screen, but that was funny. That was funny. I'm not going to read it out loud, but it's funny. All right. So let me make sure, yeah, Camping World Stadium. Yeah, Camping World is supposedly a store that does camping, but they bought, the stadium, the naming for the stadium. So it's called Camping World Stadium. It used to be called the Citrus Bowl, the Orlando Citrus Bowl, but then they changed to Camping World Stadium. So unfortunately, we have to call it Camping World, and then our arena where the Orlando Magic played, we used to call it the Orlando Arena, right? And then we got a new arena built, and that arena was at the time Amway Arena because Amway bought it. But now it's the Kia Center because Kia bought it. So now it's the Kia Center where the Orlando Magic play. So yeah, it's good to see Right Brain all up in the chat. Nice to have you. All right. Friends to the channel, Right Brain. Yeah, okay. So unfortunately, Roger, Nico's wife had a death in the family, and so we're gonna have to postpone. So unfortunately, that happened. My heart goes out to Nico and his wife and their family, and they're definitely in my thoughts. So when you lose a family member, that's tough. Straightening comb smells like burnt nostril. How would you know what burnt nostril hairs smell like, Roger? What were you doing when you were a little kid? Playing with your mother's curling iron, trying to take a risk. Oh my goodness, sounds kind of painful, Roger. Yep, and Eisenhower's interstate highway system was a universal program. Oh, yeah, that's right. That's true. Yeah. All right. No, it's all good, bro. That rant was necessary. And Jacqueline's right. It wouldn't be RBN without a rant. All right, everybody. So let's get into the next subject. We're going to be getting into this right now. So, of course, we talked about is that showing up? Okay. We talked about the displacement of Black families, what's going on before, in years past. Then we talked about in modern times, what's going on, especially in Georgia. And this continues to happen, including down to 2025. This shows that, it is a class and race issue. It's intersecting. And so we talked about that with Rome. We're going to get into our next segment now about the tariff catastrophe. So this is going to be one that we need to talk about, especially in regards to our country and what it's going to be doing to regular people. So Donald Trump has decided to put tariffs everywhere. Tariffs here, tariffs there, tariffs everywhere. Donald Trump has become the Oprah Winfrey of tariffs. You get a tariff. You get a tariff. You get a tariff. Everybody gets a tariff. Yay! And so that's what happened. And then people got nervous. Particularly corporations got nervous. Stockbrokers got nervous. People in the financial sector, they were like, Donnie, I don't know. This is making me kind of nervous. I don't know what you're doing, bro. But it's happening. So you got to laugh at this. Donald made his buddies kind of nervous. So let's go into it. Oh boy. Be prepared. Be prepared. Let's get into it.
I'm Vladimir Duthier. We are watching all the news happening in the United States and around the world, and all eyes right now are on Wall Street, where stocks are down sharply once again after the market open. It could be the third straight day of major losses after President Trump announced sweeping tariffs last week. I want to get straight to the news and bring in CBS News Money Watch correspondent Kelly O'Grady, who's joining me live right now from the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. Kelly, looking like this morning is going to be another rough one on the street. What are you hearing from traders?
It is, Vlad. We all lined up to get into the NYSE this morning, and I was just talking to a few investors in line, and the feeling was very much anxious. Not that things are falling off a cliff and that we can't rebound. There was still a little bit of hope amongst folks, but certainly beaten down. And you can see that in how the international markets reacted this morning. You see it in the market right now. And something that I know you and I have talked a lot about before is something we like to call the fear index, the volatility index, the VIX. That actually just hit above 50. Last time I was just looking down at my phone, it dipped below that. But basically what that means is investors expect there to be a lot of uncertainty and volatility over the next 30 days. So Vlad, yes, a lot of fear about today, but a lot of fear about the next month as well.
Oh, so they're scared, right? They're scared because their boy, Donnie, decided, I'm going to do something that's going to affect the American people's pockets. And not in a good way, right? Just so that people know. And Professor Richard Wolff actually educated us on this, right? He's an economist. Tariffs are a type of tax that's levied against other governments for when they want to sell their goods and services here in the United States. Unfortunately, those companies, when they have to take in these products from another country, those companies end up having to pay that tariff, right? Because it doesn't get charged to the government. It gets charged to the middleman, which is the company that's taking the products from the other country, from outside the United States. So let's just hypothetically say, I own a company and I have $1,000 worth of product coming in from China. But the tariffs are let's say 50%, right? So now I have to pay $1,500 to get those products from China into the United States. Am I going to eat that $500 because it came from China? No, I pass that back on to the consumer. So instead of me eating that $500, I'm going to pass that on to you. So if I sell a shirt for $10 typically, I'm selling that shirt for $15 or maybe even $20 so I can make profit. So I'm going to sell that shirt for $20. Right? So then I pay for the production of the shirt, right? I pay for the tariffs on the shirt, and then I make the $5 in profit off that shirt. But who ends up paying for the tariffs if the business owner is passing it on? It's you. It's me. It's everybody. So car companies, you're going to have food companies, IT businesses. Don't forget, Sony is a Japanese company, but could they also have things made in China? What about your Toyotas and your Hondas and your Nissans, right? What if you need a part repaired? Well, you're going to have to pay tariffs in order to get that part. You're going to have to pay tariffs for all these different things. So this is causing volatility in your market because now they're going to have to raise their prices in order to pay for these tariffs because we don't make anything in this country anymore. And people think, oh, well, that just means that it's going to force these companies to come here so that they can bring manufacturing back. They're not coming here. They're not coming here. You want to know why? Because the United States is only 5% of the world's population. You mean to tell me that instead of coming here for 5% of the world's population, if I'm an international company and then I can just continuously make more money by staying international instead of coming there. And I have all the people that I can get from China. I can sell to all the people in India. I can sell to all the people in Europe. I can sell to all the people in South America. I can sell to people in Africa. I can sell to most of the world without ever having to pay for tariffs. Why would I come back to the United States for that 5%? For that 5% of the market, potential 5% of the market, because not everybody's going to buy everything from you. It doesn't make any sense. Economically, it doesn't make sense. So therefore, all right, fine. We'll just pass the tariffs on to you guys. We're not going to come here and build in the United States. We're going to keep our factories in other places where we can actually pay for cheaper labor. If we can't do it in China, then fine, we'll do it in Vietnam. If we can't do it in Vietnam, we'll do it in Bangladesh. If we can't do it in Bangladesh, we'll do it in Thailand. If we're not going to do it in Thailand, then we'll do it in Sri Lanka. We can't do it in Sri Lanka. All right. Well, let's see what they got going on in Nigeria. Let's see what they going on in Laos. Let's see what they got going on in Philippines. But they're not going to come back. The United States shouldn't have done what it did with NAFTA by shipping our jobs overseas. But that's what they did. And so this is causing a huge volatility in the market. And even though over 80% of stocks are owned by the top 1%, they're not going to be the ones that's going to be hurting the most. The people who are going to be hurting the most are the people who have like their 401ks and some investments, who are just working class trying to make it. They're the ones that are losing. These rich people, they're going to be fine. But you? No, you're not. And so that's one of the reasons why it is a big weekend. Because I think it fell 2,000 points, if I'm correct. 2,000 points on Friday. Was it Thursday or Friday? And then it fell another 1,000 points yesterday. So it dropped by a lot. So let's continue on here.
That's an important number there, Kelly. Of course, the VIX measures volatility in the stock market, and it gives you a sense of how worried investors are, not just about the market, but also a possible recession, which now economists, as you know, and even some prominent bankers are suggesting there's a 50% chance that the United States enters into a recession. Meanwhile, this morning, the president of the United States says on social media, quote, there is no inflation. But as we just pointed out, folks like Jamie Dimon are saying that the tariffs will likely lead to inflation. So help us break down the reality here.
I see there's no consensus among the ruling class. There's no consensus with Donald Trump. Jamie Dimon saying, oh yeah, it's going to lead to inflation. Here's the crazy part. What did Professor Richard Wolff say? He said the United States goes through a recession every 4 to 7 years. The last recession we had was in 2020 during the pandemic. It is now 2025. And we are on time for another recession. Every 4 to 7 years, we have a recession. So a lot of us have been feeling the effects of this early part of the recession for a long time. We've never been able to get out of. Some of us are still struggling to get out of the recession from 2020. Hell, some of us are still struggling to get out of the recession of 2008. And so now a lot of us are going, well, what do we do? Let's continue on just a little bit, and then we'll get into the article.
So the reality is there is inflation. You know, the president saying that there's no inflation, that's simply not true, or potentially, you know, a misturn of phrase. I think what he's referencing is that the last...
A misturn of phrase? Oh, ma'am, just say he's lying. He's lying. Just say he lied. Oh, that's not true. That's just a misturn of phrase. What is this? The whole alternative facts thing again? Come on. My goodness. See, this is the problem with corporate media. Sometimes y'all don't call a thing a thing. You guys just like to spin things to make it seem like, oh, it's nothing but a flesh wound. Just a bit of a flesh wound. It's all right. The hell? Each and every single day, we fall further and further from the grace of God. Oh my gosh, these people. All right, let's.
Turn of phrase. I think what he's referencing is that the last consumer price index reading about a month ago, which was the first under his term, actually saw inflation cooling. That just means that prices are still rising, just slower than they were before. We're going to get another read this Wednesday, so we'll kind of see if that trend continues or we're seeing that tick back up. But really what you are having analysts, CEOs like Jamie Dimon talk about is what could happen, the what if. And that is really what investors are trading on. That sure, the economic data does not say we are in a recession. And in fact, I mean, we got a great jobs report on Friday. But what happens if these tariffs do lead to price increases because businesses have to pass that cost on to consumers? Does consumer spending slow down? Does that weaken the economy? So,
yeah. It will. We already can't. We can't afford rent. A lot of people, their housing prices are going higher because the interest rates are getting too high. People, car payments are going up. Credit cards are increasing their interest rates. You know how much it costs just for educate, to put your kid in daycare now? Everything's gone up to the point, and no, wages have not kept up with inflation. So therefore, if it's becoming more expensive, a lot more people are suffering. And here's the thing. You know who's also sounding the alarm? A billionaire is sounding the alarm. Let's go into that. Because, this billionaire, who's also a Zionist, is saying, what the hell? So look, here we go. Billionaires are turning on Trump. Oh my goodness, this is hilarious. Billionaires are turning on Trump. Look, I don't know about y'all, but I'm gonna tell you right now. You better get your popcorn ready because this is about to be an event. I don't know about you and me, but watching billionaires turn on Trump is going to be the most hilarious thing ever. Because the billionaires don't feel like he's making America great again. You know what I'm saying? Now you got Bill Ackman. Bill Ackman? Who's going to be next? Harlan Crow? Miriam Adelson? I don't know. But it's fun to watch. Somebody like them looking at him like he's crazy. But he is. Anyway, so let's get into this article really quick. So It says wealthy business leaders are turning on U.S. President Donald Trump over his plans to impose a colossal set of tariffs on America's trading partners as losses mount on stock markets around the world. Billionaire investor Bill Ackman, who endorsed Trump in 2024 presidential bid, warned Sunday that he's going ahead with the new tariffs was tantamount to launching an economic nuclear war. See, and this goes to what I said to Rome earlier. It's that I want to laugh even more, but at the same time, I'm nervous for the average working poor person in America. Because even though I want to be gleeful about the billionaires losing out, about the politicians on both sides of the aisle, really are on the same side. I want to be gleeful about that. They're going to pass that pain over to the rest of us. And that's the problem. This is why we need to know this information so that we can prepare. We need to have a contingency in place for those of us who are the working class. Let's continue on. On Wednesday, Trump said that he would impose significantly higher reciprocal tariffs on dozens of countries that have the highest trade imbalances with the United States. On Twitter, I'm still calling it Twitter, Ackman said business and investment will grind to a halt and consumers will close their wallets if the new levies do not come into force. We will severely damage our reputation with the rest of the world. Too late for that. That will take years and potentially decades to rehabilitate. So it says his post was viewed over 10.6 million times. Unless Trump changes track, we are heading for a self-induced economic nuclear winter, and we should start hunkering down. So it says, what CEO and what board of directors will be comfortable making large long-term economic commitments in our country in the middle of an economic nuclear war? Said the president is losing the confidence of business leaders around the globe. Capitalists start looking at Donald Trump like, bro, what are you doing? Stop. You said you were going to make America great again. For us. We're supposed to be the Carnegies and the Rothschilds and the Morgans. And you're trying to send us to that poorhouse where we're just multimillionaires instead of billionaires. No. That's what's happening. Let's continue. Already Trump's baseline of 10% tariffs on all goods imported into the United States went into effect on Saturday. And dozens of economies are bracing for even higher levies starting Wednesday, tomorrow. Those harder hit countries include major U.S. trading partners, China and European Union, which face new duties of 34% and 20% respectively. Other billionaires and wealthy business leaders also have openly criticized Trump's tariff agenda in recent days as fear over its economic fallout gripped markets. Jamie Dimon, CEO of JP Morgan Chase, warned Monday that the tariffs threatened to raise prices, drive the global economy into a downturn, and weaken America's standing in the world. Here's the crazy part. You have people who were staunch supporters of Donald Trump saying, oh man, this is going to be great for us. We're going to, it's going to bring back jobs. Meanwhile, the same people, the job creators, are saying this is going to tear us apart. They're scared. I would be celebrating if it wasn't going to be hitting us too. But unfortunately, just like a child that lives in the house with an abusive parent, if the abusive parent loses their home, what happens to the kid? And there's nobody really to come in and save the day for the kid. If the country, you know what I'm saying? This is why the system needs to be torn apart from the inside. But Donald Trump is tearing it apart, and it's going to have blowback on the working class too. Let's continue this. The recent tariffs will likely increase inflation and are causing many to consider a greater probability of a recession. Whether or not the menu of tariffs causes a recession remains in question, but it will slow down growth. This is from Stanley Druckenmiller. What a name! Stanley Druckenmiller. Wow. Founder of the Duquesne family office and investment firm, said that he did not support tariffs exceeding 10%. Druckenmiller is worth an estimated $11 billion, according to a Bloomberg Business Index. Later in the day, Ken Fisher, another billionaire, the founder and executive chairman of Fisher Investments, said what Trump unveiled last Wednesday is stupid, wrong, arrogantly extreme, ignorant trade-wise, and addressing a non-problem with misguided tools. Yet, as near as I can tell, it will fade and fail, and the fear is bigger than the problem, which from here is bullish. And basically said that Trump's tariffs are beyond the pale. Right? Even Elon Musk, the world's richest man and Trump acolyte, said Sunday that he hoped for a zero tariff situation because Europe and the U.S., between Europe and the U.S. In an interview with Italy's Deputy Prime Minister Matteo Salvini, Musk said he wanted to see an effective trade-free zone created between Europe and North America. Echoing Ackman, Simon McAdam, Deputy Chief Economist of the consultancy Capital Economics, said businesses were likely to hold off making investments due in large part to sheer uncertainty of Trump's tariff policy. Says that if you're a mid-sized or even a large cap company, you're going to be very hesitant about what to do. If those tariffs are going to be negotiated back down again in a few months' time, then you'll be wasting your time investing potentially hundreds of millions of dollars in new plants. You'll be wasting your time investing potentially in hundreds of millions of dollars in new plants. Plants meaning factories. He shot himself in the foot. We're bringing jobs back. Jobs for who? Jobs for who? See what I mean? You remember when Donald Trump said a few months back, oh, we'll feel a little bit of pain? This is the little bit of pain, right? Meanwhile, we're already going through, a lot of us are already going through a recession because we can't afford rent, groceries, utilities. We can't afford our phone bills hardly. We can't afford card payments. Some of us, have credit cards and we can't pay on those. There's so many people who are suffering right now, and this will add on top of it. And how many people are trying to look for work and they're not getting hired? In his post, Ackman said that new tariffs were massive and disproportionate, saying, "This is not what we voted for." He called for a 90-day timeout in which Trump could negotiate with trading partners to resolve unfair asymmetric tariff deals. The billionaires, the owner class, they said, "This is not what we voted for. We didn't want this." Oh, but you got it. You got it. This is bad. He said Trump has said his tariff agenda is designed to redress years of lopsided trade between America and its partners, caused, in his view, by other countries imposing steeper tariffs on U.S. goods imported into their markets than the U.S. does theirs. But investors are clearly not convinced by the wisdom of Trump's plan. Stock markets in Asia and Europe plunged Monday, and futures pointed towards another bad day for U.S. stocks following Trump's tariffs announcements last Wednesday. So, that being said, it's not looking good. This is why I said Trump's terrible tariffs, because it's a terrible idea, even from a capitalist standpoint, and yet it's gone to shit. Oh my gosh. Oh man. Now, to add insult to injury, let's look at what the European Union is doing. Oh, it gets worse. It gets so much worse. Oh my goodness, y'all. Let me share this article. Trump is... Boy, European Union Commission proposes 25% counter tariffs on some U.S. imports. Document shows. Oh, it's getting bad. Oh. It says the European Commission proposed counter tariffs of 25% on a range of U.S. goods on Monday in response to President Donald Trump's tariffs on steel and aluminum, a document sent by Reuters showed. Tariffs on some goods will take effect May 16th and others a year later in the year. On December 1st, the document said. It says the goods are wide-ranging, including diamonds, eggs, dental floss, sausages, and poultry, chicken basically. The counter tariffs on almonds and soybeans will take effect on December 1st. And let me tell you something, there's a lot of soy and a lot of different products. That means a lot of the food that's on the shelves at grocery stores are going to go up because they actually have to pay for that soy. And that soy is going to cost them more, meaning they're going to pass that on to you. It's terrible. Start looking for people who own farms. Start looking to start planting your own crops, people, because let me tell you something, it's about to get bad. All right, so it says the EU trade chief Marcos Sefcovic said earlier Monday that the counter tariffs will have less impact than they previously announced, 26 billion euros, which is $28.45 billion. Bourbon, wine, and dairy have been removed from the original list the commission was weighing in March. The commission has earmarked 50% tariff on bourbon. So if you want some bourbon, you have to pay extra for it, which had prompted Trump to threaten a 200% counter tariff on European Union alcoholic drinks if the bloc went ahead. This is the biggest international dick measuring contest I have ever seen. That's exactly what this is. Trump and his ego is going to threaten the entire world's economy, especially the United States economy. Oh my goodness. This you gotta laugh to keep yourself from crying. I'm telling you, folks. All right, let's go. Oh my gosh. Does Trump threat worried France and Italy in particular owing to their significant wine industries. In addition to these counter tariffs, the EU already tightened existing safeguards on steel on April 1st to reduce imports by 15%. The Commission is also looking to import quotas for aluminum. EU member states are due to vote on this proposal on April 9th, which is tomorrow. And it gets worse. Let's go to China. It gets so much worse. Oh, oh my gosh. This is bad. This is very, very bad. This is very, very bad. Very bad. All right. So This is, let me make sure it's up here so you guys can see. All right. Y'all see it. China says it will fight to the end after Trump threatens to impose still more tariffs. Says China said Tuesday it will fight to the end and take countermeasures against the United States to safeguard its own interests after President Donald Trump threatened an additional 50% tariff on Chinese imports. Y'all better watch out right now, because some of them clothes you get from Shein and some of them products you get from Temu are going to become more expensive. They're not going to be as cheap as you thought they were. It's not going to look good for you. All right. It says the Commerce Ministry said that the U.S. imposition of so-called reciprocal tariffs on China is completely groundless and a typical unilateral bullying practice. China, the world's second largest economy, has announced retaliatory tariffs, and the ministry hinted in its latest statement that more may be coming. The countermeasures China has taken are aimed at safeguarding its sovereignty, security, and development interests, and maintaining the normal international trade order. They are completely legitimate. It says the U.S. threat to escalate tariffs on China is a mistake on top of a mistake, and once again exposes the blackmailing nature of the U.S. China will never accept this. If the U.S. insists on its way, China will fight to the end. It says analysts and traders worry about a global trade war. Trump's threat Monday of additional tariffs on China raised fresh concerns that his drive to rebalance the global economy could intensify a financially destructive trade war. Stock markets from Tokyo to New York have become more unstable as the trade war worsens. Trump's threat came after China said it would retaliate against U.S. tariffs announced last week. Said if China does not withdraw its 34% increase above their already long-term trading abuses by tomorrow, April 8th, which is today, the United States would impose an additional tariffs on China of 50%, effective April 9th, which is tomorrow. Trump wrote on Truth Social. Additionally, all talks with China concerning their requested meetings with us will be terminated. If Trump implements his new tariffs on Chinese products, U.S. tariffs on Chinese goods will reach a combined 104%. The new taxes will be on top of the 20% tariffs announced as punishment for fentanyl trafficking and a separate 34% tariffs announced last week. Not only could that increase prices for American consumers, it could also give China an incentive to flood other countries with cheaper goods and seek deeper relationships with other trading partners, particularly the European Union. So it's not going to look good, because if they're trying to, strengthen deeper ties with, say, Europe, the United States is actually going to lose whatever grip it's had, especially on the vassal states like the European Union, the G7. The United States is really going to lose. And that hegemony that they thought they were hanging on to, look, what did Princess Leia said? She said, the more you tighten your grip around these star systems, they're going to slip right through your fingers. Guess what? They're slipping. Have you ever tried to grab or grip Jell-O? What happens? Yep. This is what's going on. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to cause more countries to band together against the United States, including former partners. Look, we're already losing Saudi Arabia. They already joined BRICS. Saudi Arabia said, we're not going with y'all no more. We're going over here. BRICS has the most combined GDP of any international bloc, bigger than the G7. Donald Trump is literally escalating the decline of the United States. Like, we knew that this empire was on a decline, but Donald Trump is saying, all right, let's speed this up. Let's speed it up. Like, it's unintentional. But Donald Trump is the equivalent of seeing a house on fire, and he goes, you know what? Alcohol always seems to make my skin feel cooler once I have it on my skin. Let me pour some alcohol on this fire to try to cool it down. What does alcohol do when it's introduced to flames? Now you see. That's basically what's going on now. Oh boy. So this is not good for the working class in this country. There's going to be a lot more hurt. But it's also going to tear down the hegemony that this country has. It's going to tear down, like, this country is already a laughing stock to the world. It's even more. The United States is becoming the world's court jester. Unfortunately, those of us who live in the imperial core, we can't afford to laugh. Go ahead and give a like to the stream. Thank you so very much. Appreciate it. Want to get you guys' thoughts on this. This is some intense stuff that's happening on the world stage. Let me check on the Rumble side to see if I have any Rumble rants. Looks like we're good on the Rumble side. All right, let's go into the regular chat here. All right, so this is So David says Miriam got that $1 trillion MIC contract for Israel. They're not losing out. Look, here's the thing. There's a lot going on right now. Like, for instance, Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu are supposed to be going to Iran to cut out a deal. And it's like, do y'all really want to mess with Iran right now? Like, leave Iran alone. They ain't doing nothing to y'all. They're just trying to make sure that the Palestinians and the people in Lebanon, they're not continuously being genocided. That's all they're trying to do. They're just trying to make sure that people aren't being treated unfairly. And yet, Israel and their big, strong partner, the United States, are saying that they're trying to come to the table. Nothing's going to come up, but I don't think so. I don't have any faith in it. But yeah, it's another conversation that we can have for another day. Let's continue. Our creator experience says just find out about your nearest food bank and unemployment office. Oh, I'm going to tell you something about food banks. Because the United States government is now doing all its cuts right now, a lot of the money, the subsidies that will go to food banks in order to be able to afford to be able to give food to the people who are needy, well, they're actually losing out. Actually, you know what? Let me see if I can find that. Because there's somebody who actually does work with food banks, and they're saying that the food banks are actually they're not doing good because of the cuts to federal spending. Let me see if I can find it. I wonder. Hang on. His comrade sent me. Oh, that was a story he had. It's gone now. Damn. I wish I could have saved it. But it was part of a story that he had where a lot of the food banks are essentially running out of money because the United States government is now making so many cuts that the federal spending that would go towards food banks to help them out, it's not there. So food banks are now suffering, which means that people aren't able to get food from the food banks. And it's funny how people talk about socialism. Oh my God, bread lines. Here's my funny thing is the United States also has bread lines. We just call them food banks. And yet we can't even keep those up. It's weird, right? We can't even keep up our own bread lines. But yeah, unfortunately, creative experiments. Food banks are suffering now too. Let's continue. Katie Lewis says, we didn't vote for our destruction. We meant to vote for you peasants' destruction. What the F is this? Yeah, but that's the thing. See, they don't realize. See, this is the problem with individualism. Individualism will say, well, look, if that tree burns down, I as a tree, I'm good. I don't care, right? Meanwhile, that tree's root system is directly connected to you. And so if you want that tree to get burned down, guess what? You're also counting on your root system getting burned, and then you start to get burned too. And the problem is that these billionaires don't realize that everything is connected. So if something bad happens to the workers, the poorest among us, it's going to harm them too, because we live in a global economy now. It's not limited to just the United States anymore. And so you harm me, well, guess what? You harm yourself. But that's the way the world works, because we're all a part of each other. We're all connected. So this is why it's best to have a more collectivist society, for people to try to upbuild people and try to support the material conditions of not just ourselves, but our fellow human beings. But if you're one of those, I got mines, you go get yours. Some people can't go get theirs. And guess what? Who ends up suffering indirectly? You. So yeah, you're about to get theirs because we got ours already. We're suffering on us already. So now the suffering is going to carry over to them. What he says, go directly to Great Depression. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Yep. Do not pass go. Yep, Nico Wicca, you heard right. 104% tariffs on China. Like what? I guess iShow Speed is going to have to pay a little bit extra to bring those cars back to the United States. Yep, he is going to go down with the ship. Wadi is correct. He is going down with the ship. And yes, Chris, see, this is also another point. China has the pact between Japan and South Korea, which is definitely historic. Yep. The East Asian countries are going, yeah, we're not going to go down with this mess. Nah, you want to go down, you go ahead. But we're going to keep ourselves afloat. And Japan and South Korea are essentially vassal states of the United States. And yet they're teaming up with China. I said get your popcorn ready, baby. Yeah, I meant it. All right, let's continue. Yep, Kate Max says poking the bear with Iran. Mm-hmm. Yep. Absolutely. And then Katie says this is what happens when the state is ran by somebody who's bought all of the state's propaganda unironically. Well, with that being said, we're going to move on to our final segment. We got a final segment coming in, and it's going to be interesting. I want to react to this because I think it is absolutely important for me to get into this. So yeah, let's get into it. Oh, hang on. Roger says DM. Okay. I'll do that first and then I'll get into the next segment. Okay, let me share my screen. All right, thank you for this, Roger. He says, okay, people, I'm going to keep beating the drum as to why those of you who live in CBIA, Citizen Ballot Initiative Amendment, states need to stop waiting on the government and get it done yourself. If you know that we're going to go through these boom bust cycles, I inform you that a public bank would create a surplus in your state and local economy, insulating it from downturn in the national economy. Then what are you waiting for? 1, finances infrastructure projects and the Department of Public Works. This represents a stake on the plate, the main focus. 2, creates a surplus in the economy that it oversees without having to raise taxes or create new taxes. This represents the vegetables. Based on the surplus it generates, a public bank insulates the economy it oversees from national downturns in the economy. This represents the beans for the fiber. Beans means they're good for your heart. The more you eat them, the more you fart. 4, it transitions us off the Wall Street fix by keeping taxes generated in the state from leaving the state. However, a public bank in New York State would mean keeping taxes generated in the state in communities that need them instead of leaving to go to the financial district. This represents the baked potato. Hopefully with some sour cream and some cheddar cheese too, and maybe some chives. Provide smaller banks with securitization for large loans. This represents the mashed sweet potato. Damn, Roger, what we doing? Some Thanksgiving here? We got the yams. 6, provides an alternative insurer for and encourages citizens to bank with their local credit unions and community banks by serving as their SDIC or MDIC if municipal public bank, as opposed to the FDIC. This represents the brown rice. This is making me hungry. Allows for credit unions and local community banks to take the chance on granting loans to startup worker cooperatives. That to me, Roger, that's the mac and cheese. Provide for a safe, secure, reliable alternate option to public bank pensions. This represents the orange juice. I hope it's the kind with pulp, because I like the orange juice with the pulp. In situations when it comes to cutting of checks secured through the government through class action lawsuit or emergency dollars coming from the federal government. All right, so we got the cranberry sauce. Solves the remote work and business location dilemma, which depletes the state local governments of tax revenue. This represents the whole wheat dinner rolls, the yeast rolls for me, especially with that butter, that sweet cream butter. 11, allows for community banks and credit unions a safe place to deposit profits made from the cannabis industry without running afoul of federal banking regulations. This represents the blueberry pie with all its antioxidants. And and a little bit of whipped cream, maybe some ice cream. And then I gifted everyone the beauty of my voice, so you can play that too. Okay. I don't know if it's going to play. It's not playing for me, Roger. I'm sorry. Yeah, Roger, I'm sorry. It's not playing for me. It's probably going to be, I don't know if it will do it on my phone. Let me see.
You know what? I'm going to give everyone a treat and allow them to hear my voice. The other thing is, now that's what a public bank can do. Now, here's why what Trump is doing is reverse of what he should do. Instead of trying to get shareholder-owned corporations to come back here, instead, he should be doing trillion-dollar investments in starting cooperative-owned business right here. When the workers own it, they're not going to vote for automation to replace them. When the workers own it, they're not going to outsource their jobs to another, out of the community, state, to another country. When the workers own it, you have a reliable tax base. When the workers own it, they will go far and above the OSHA rules when it comes to workplace safety. When the workers own it, they're not going to they're going to go way beyond EPA rules and regulations. So they're not going to put the environment and the public at risk, their community at risk. That's what you do. Stop trying to bring them over here, these corporations back over here, because all they're going to do is just automate or use prison labor or use migrant labor. Bring it back here so that we have control. No, I'm sorry. Start it here so we build it from scratch. As well as the whole supply chain with hemp-based. You know what? I'm going to give everyone a treat and allow them.
I think it was with hemp-based products. So yeah, for the most part, I mean, and let's end with this. Roger says, he said, Ibrahim Traore, who's the interim president of Burkina Faso, is knocking it out the park in Burkina Faso. The new Gaddafi and Patrice Lumumba. He chartered a public bank just this past August. It is not even a year old, and he's banging it out. Absolutely. In fact, in Burkina Faso, what they're doing is also another jobs program among its prison population. So what they're doing in Burkina Faso is that if you are incarcerated, if you want to reduce your sentence, every month you work on the farms and cultivating and growing food, they will take off 3 months off your sentence for every month that you work, in the agriculture sector. You work 1 month in the agriculture sector, they take 3 months off your sentence. That's what Captain Ibrahim Traore is doing in Burkina Faso. And so moving this along, not only that, but once they get out, they will have skills in the agriculture that they can use in order to help build up Burkina Faso. So now that not only are they reducing their sentences, but they're also getting skills in order to be able to grow and build up the country. That's on top of what Roger just talked about. See? And so this is the thing. And I agree. Like, why are we spending all these billions of dollars, these trillions of dollars on these companies that don't even really want to give us jobs? Instead, why not just have us do it ourselves by helping us invest in worker cooperatives so we can actually own our own businesses and build ourselves up? But that's the thing. Thank you very much for that, Roger. Sojourner says, why do people need to wait for the government why do people need to wait for the government they own to do something like this? How can people get started? The problem is that the people who listen to people who get listened to the most are these wealthy business owners that are basically the owners of the means of production over these big corporations. They're not going to listen to anybody who's regular like the rest of us. You have to either one of two ways. You either have to completely do, or, right, you do it through citizen-initiated ballot initiatives, which is the peaceful route. And then you actually force through direct democracy to actually give yourself the power. Problem is, not a lot of people know this. And this is why people like Roger are actually trying to educate people into saying, look, if I live in a ballot initiative state, I can push direct democracy. This is the last ditch effort at actually doing something peaceful for the workers. Because guess what? After that, yeah, there you go. And he's right. Like that statement right there that's your bootstraps right there. Right? So thank you very much for that. I'm not mad at that. There needs to be a state-run alternative to compete in every industry, That's the thing, though. It's geared towards private business that is owned by a small contingent of people or by one person. Those are the ones that are supported more. When it comes to actually workers-owned cooperatives and things like that, it's not as supported heavily. And the problem is that there's not apparatuses in order to be able to allow people to get these businesses. Like, for instance, if a bunch of workers wanted to come together to create a business, well, then they even have the capital to be able to do it, to have a worker-owned cooperative? You know what I mean? Or let's say, and we talked about this with Roger before, is that let's say you have a business and you're working for this corporation, and the corporation, does something wrong to the people in the community. Well, it should be that the corporation loses its corporate charter, because corporate charter really should be a privilege, not a right. And so they lose that corporate charter, and then the workers within that corporation get right of first acceptance, meaning that they will force the sale of the corporation to the workers who work for that corporation. And people will go, well, how will they be able to get the capital to be able to purchase that corporation from the shareholders, from the CEOs and CFOs and COOs? Well, then that's when the government goes in and goes, we're going to give these people a loan, a very low interest loan, lower than what the banks would ever do. And we're going to give them the capital to be able to buy that business. And so then we will give them the money to buy it. They purchase it. Now they collectively own it. And then they pay us back these low interest loans. I personally also think, on top of that, that any taxes for cooperatives should also be deferred for at least a decade. So then, even though they're paying back the loan, they don't have to pay taxes, at least on a federal level. Or if you're doing it through on a state level, you know what I mean? So that's what I would also include. But yeah. But Roger is really good with stuff like that. Anyways, let's go into the final segment. Let's get into it. So, you guys ready? So we're going to go into this. Capitalism destroyed by climate change. It's no secret that right now we're going through a climate crisis as we speak. Some people will say, oh, that's not true, when in reality, you see the intensifying of the storms. You see the drastic changes between weather, right? Colder winters, hotter summers. Everything's incongruent. Everything's cattywampus right now. But there was an article that came out that actually talked about how climate change will destroy capitalism. This is something interesting that I saw that I wanted to get into. So let's go over this article, and I'm going to give my thoughts, and we'll see how it pans out and what they say. So let me see this. All right, so you guys can see the article. So this is out of The Guardian. It says climate crisis on track to destroy capitalism, warns top insurer. Action urgently needed to save the conditions under which markets and civilization itself can operate, says senior Elaine's figure. So let's get into this. It says the climate crisis is on track to destroy capitalism, a top insurer warned, with the vast cost of extreme weather impacts leaving the financial sector unable to operate. The world is fast approaching temperature levels where the insurers will no longer be able to offer cover for many climate risks. That's from Gunther Thallinger, the board of Allianz SC, one of the world's biggest insurance companies. He said that without insurance, which is already being pooled in some places, many other financial services become unviable, from mortgages to investments. Now, let me stop there for a second. This is true because here in states like Florida, many homeowners insurance companies are pulling out. They are saying it is too much of a risk. We're going to lose money if we continue to insure these homes in this state. And so now, and I talked about this before. I talked about this weeks ago about the insurance crisis that's contributing to the housing crisis, where a lot of people just cannot afford insurance, homeowners insurance, because our hurricanes that are going to be coming this year are going to be more intense. We're going to have more heat waves. We're going to have more blizzards, because climate change is really not necessarily everything just getting hotter. It's drastic changes, extremes, more cold extremes, hot extremes, right? The melting of the ice caps, and then causing warmer waters. So it intensifies the hurricanes, intensifies the temperatures that also cause tornadoes. The wildfires that are happening in places like California, right? These are intensifying more. And look at what happens in the Gulf. We're going to see more storms that are taking place in the Gulf because, in the tropics, they come typically from the edge of West Africa on over, but sometimes they curl in and go through the Gulf of Mexico. So we're seeing these superstorms that are starting to emerge even more now. And if you're seeing more of that damage, that means that the risk assessment goes up, which means that you will not be able to make as much profit. And these insurance companies are privately owned insurance companies. They're private. By private, meaning they're not owned by the workers. So if they're just privately owned, private insurance companies, they need to make profit. And they have to make profit year over year. And here in the United States, at least by law, CEOs have a fiduciary responsibility to their shareholders. And so if they're unable to make more profit, that's actually against the law in this country. And so now they're saying, well, we just got to pull out because we're not going to be making any money over here. Because we have to pay out claims. We have to pay out claims for all these people that are losing their homes. You know, we're not going to make anything. So that's part of the climate crisis that they're talking about here. Global carbon emissions are still rising, and current policies will result in a rise in global temperature between 2.2 degrees Celsius and 3.4 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. The damage at 3 degrees Celsius will be so great that governments will be unable to provide financial bailouts, and it will be impossible to adapt to many climate impacts. So Thallinger is also the chair of the German company's investment board. That was previous CEO of Allianz Investment Management. Says the core business of the insurance industry is at risk management. It has long taken the dangers of global heating very seriously. It said in recent reports, Aviva said extreme weather damages for the decades from 2023 hit $2 trillion, while Gallagher said that the figures was $400 billion in 2024. Zurich said that it was essential to hit net zero by 2050. Thallinger said that the good news is that we already have the technology to switch from fossil combustion to zero emission energy. The only thing missing is speed and scale. This is about saving the conditions under which markets, finance, and civilization itself can continue to operate. Nick Robbins, the chair of the Just Transition Finance Lab at the London School of Economics, said that this devastating analysis from global insurance leader sets out not just the financial, but also the civilizational threat composed by climate change. It needs to be the basis for a renewed action, particularly in the countries of the global south. The insurance sector is a canary in a coal mine when it comes to climate impacts. I would disagree with this. The insurance company is a canary in a coal mine. No. It would be the people living in the areas that are the canaries in the coal mine. Because they're the ones. They're going to be the climate refugees that have to move northward in order to be able to survive. You think the immigration crisis is bad now? Wait till we start having more climate refugees coming through our borders and saying, we ain't got no time to go through the legal routes anymore. We're busting through these walls because we're not going to die because you guys want to have us go through the proper channels. And on top of that, a lot of our government is to blame of what's going on in the climate crisis. So therefore, it's like you guys caused this crisis. So break the door down. The people are the canaries in the coal mine. It's not the companies. Why are we humanizing companies? It's weird. Corporations are not people. Says the argument set out by Thallinger in a LinkedIn post begins with the increasingly severe damage being caused by the climate crisis. Heat and water destroy capital. Flooded homes lose value. Overheated cities become uninhabitable. Entire asset classes are degrading in real time. We are fast approaching temperatures levels 1.5 degrees Celsius, 2 degrees Celsius, 3 degrees Celsius, where insurers will no longer be able to offer coverage for many of these risks. The math breaks down. Premiums required the premiums required exceed the people or companies can pay. This is already happening. Entire regions are becoming uninsurable. He cited companies ending home insurance in California due to wildfires. Thallinger said it was a systemic risk, threatening the very foundation of the financial sector, because a lack of insurance means other financial services become unavailable. This is a climate-induced credit crunch. This applies not only to housing, but to infrastructure, transportation, agriculture, and industry. The economic value of entire regions, coastal, arid, wildfire-prone, will begin to vanish from the financial ledgers. Markets will reprice rapidly and brutally. This is what climate-driven market failure looks like. Continues, says, no government will realistically be able to cover the damage when multiple high-cost events happen in rapid succession. As climate models predict, Australia's disaster recovery spending has already increased sevenfold between 2017 and 2023. The idea that billions of people can just adapt to worsening climate impacts is a false comfort. That there's no way to adapt to temperatures beyond human tolerance. Whole cities built on floodplains cannot simply pick up and move uphill. Remember when what is his name? Squeaky voice. Ben Shapiro said, I need to move uphill. Like, what? Not everybody can do that. And that's part of the problem, right? It's going to get so bad that a lot of these countries won't be able to backstop, won't be able to provide any type of financial assistance for people to rebuild. And we're not just talking about homes, we're talking about businesses, we're talking about vital infrastructure. We're talking about the destruction of our wetlands. We're talking about the destruction of, ecosystems. And so this is really going to be breaking it down because of the climate crisis. But the thing is like, it's capitalism's reason as to why the climate crisis is in place in the first place. Capitalism is the reason. Because not we, but they, the owner class, believe in a system that requires infinite growth on a planet with finite resources. Right? I'll give you an example. This big ass bag of popcorn, see how big it is? It's compared to my head. I got a big head. This big bag of popcorn, yeah, it'll last me a while. But unfortunately, with a big bag of popcorn like this, it doesn't last forever. It's not going to last forever. Why is it not going to last forever? Because it is finite. Meaning it has its limits. This planet, the resources are finite. It has its limits. Even the sun is finite. It may last us a few more million years, a few million more years, but it's still finite until it starts to collapse within itself and becomes, a red giant and expands, and then it starts to collapse in on itself, and either it'll just fizzle out or it'll explode and become a supernova. But either which, it doesn't matter. The thing is, like, these resources are all finite, and we got to stop thinking these things are permanent. And that's the problem. We smelled ourselves so much to the point where we can do this all day. It's not going to have an impact on us. And here's the crazy part. You literally got capitalists saying, this is bad, this is bad, this is very, very bad. But we're in danger. Because the capitalists that head these insurance agencies are saying, ooh, we can't insure this because it's becoming too much now. The scam, they can't even run the scam of being a private insurer. At 3 degrees Celsius of global heating, climate change cannot be insured against, covered by governments, or adapted to. This means no more mortgages, no new real estate development, no long-term investment, no financial stability. The financial sector, as we know it, ceases to function. And with it, capitalism, as we know it, ceases to be viable. The only solution was to cut fossil fuel burning or to capture the emissions, he said. With everything else being a delay or distraction, he said capitalism must solve the crisis, starting with putting its sustainability goals on the same level as financial goals. Here's the flaw in what this gentleman is saying. Capitalism in itself is going to destroy unless it's replaced with a different economic system. Capitalism cannot save itself from itself. It is impossible. Capitalism cannot save itself any more than a person that's jumped out of a plane without a parachute can save themselves from hitting the ground. You can try to swim through the air, you can try to run up, but eventually, slap. You're roadkill. Capitalism cannot save itself. It's jumped out of the plane already. It has no parachute. There's no way. Absolutely not. So saying that, oh, well, capitalism just needs to shift things around. No. Capitalism in itself is inherently exploitative. So therefore, it exploits the planet. When it exploits the planet, and guess what? Once the planet gets exploited enough, it's going to run out. Or it's going to shake us off. And that's exactly what's going on right now. So we're at a crossroads where we either have to do one of two things. Either keep capitalism going or die. But there is a third option. There's a third option. But people like Ballinger's not going to like it. It's a different economic system where the workers own the means of production and distribution. Where we have a central planning model where you don't have corporations and small groups of people that own the economy. And that economy is now planned around the caretaking of people and environments. And so then we start to build social safety nets for the people, as well as big, large, huge climate contingency plans in order to stave off the climate change. It's called socialism. That's the only way that's going to save us. And there's no in between. Oh, well, maybe we can do a little bit of capitalism. No. Saying we can have a little bit of capitalism is saying, well, I can have a little bit of poison in the water. No, baby. No, it doesn't work that way. Capitalism thrives on exploitation. We're not going to accept just a little bit of exploitation. No. Get that out of your head. It doesn't work that way, right? Because guess what? Capitalism will go, okay, we were able to do it with a little bit of poison in the water. Can we do it a little bit more? A little bit more? A little bit more? A little bit more? And then guess what? You got a full cup of poison. And then what happens? Because that's how capitalism works. A little bit more exploitation, a little bit more exploitation, a little bit more exploitation. And then guess what? Everybody suffers. Everybody dies. That's how it works. Because guess what? Guess what we did back in the 1930s, right after the stock market crashed? Then we got ourselves into a war. And then instead of all the money going up to the top, they said, all right, well, let's not do as much poison in the water. So then they did a little bit less poison. And so people were able to grow. Look, the working class, particularly the white working class, they grew. Chia. And then they moved out into the suburbs. They started having more, they had a lot more kids. That's why we had the baby boom, right? They were able to have pensions and save for retirement, and the life expectancy went up, and all these different things. But then guess what? The companies, the corporations said, well, can we exploit a little bit more? Can we exploit a little bit more? So everything went. And now We're getting to the point where it's like, oh my God, we overexploited ourselves into a corner. And so now you see, this is what happened. Because they knew about climate change way back then. The fossil fuel companies knew. But they kept it hidden, they kept it locked away. Why? Because they wanted to keep that exploitation going. They wanted to keep that adding more poison to the water. Because they thought, well, we got time. And now they're out of time. That's the problem. Capitalism is not going to save us. Capitalism was never meant to save us. Let's finish up this article. Many financial institutions have moved away from the climate action after the election of U.S. President Donald Trump, who has called such action a green scam. Dallinger said on February, the cost of inaction is higher than the cost of transformation and adaptation. If we succeed in our transition, we will enjoy a more efficient, competitive economy and a higher quality of life. Here's the problem, though. Now, you can't do it through capitalism because that means that you're going to have to exploit people. Even when you try to do it through the green means, you're exploiting people. For the cobalt and coltan, you're going to continue that exploitation. You're going to exploit people. For the lithium, you're going to exploit people, within your own territory. You're going to exploit people, instead of having wars over oil, we'll start having wars over lithium. Because we don't want to actually start using hemp. Because if we start using hemp, that means that everybody has it available. If everybody has it available, that means you can't exploit it. So therefore, we're going to hold that back. No. We're going to keep that in the back shelf. We don't want people to actually know about that technology. We want to be able to make more for ourselves. This is why true climate action will never happen in the capitalist system. This is why the system needs to go. And who is it going to harm the most? Those of us who are part of the working class, especially those of us who are in marginalized communities. A majority of the Black population in the United States actually lives in the southern states. A lot of us are in North Carolina, South Carolina, Alabama, Louisiana, Mississippi, Florida, Texas. And these places are experiencing what? The hurricanes, the tornadoes, the heat waves. We got wildfires that happen here too. So who's going to make out worse? So this is why it is important for us to focus more on the climate crisis. I want to share this as well. Let me get this up here. All right. So I'm going to share the screen really quick because I want you guys to hear this too. This is a Black woman in Chicago, and she's talking about the pollution and environment in the Black community. Let's go.
Is an isolated area, is a forgotten area that
You live in Orchid Gardens in the middle of all of the expressways and chemical plants and sludge drying beds. Could you tell us, for those of us who don't come into your neighborhood, what is it like? What does it smell like? And what is it like to live there on a day-to-day basis?
It's like living in hell because of the odor that makes you sick all the time. And it's sickening to know that people in our area is an isolated area, is a forgotten area that no one cares about. We have infants that's born with deformities. We have a lot of respiratory problems. We have cancer. We have people that have to live on oxygen tanks in their home.
Do you believe that that is related to the pollution?
Sure, I do. We have a lot of people that has to be on a machine because of kidney problem. And we have a lady right back here in the audience that has to go 3 times a week to be on a machine.
May I ask you what you think needs to be done in order to deal with this problem then? Do you want to shut down all the industry around here? Or do you want to move people out? What do you want to do?
Close all the industry down and relocate the people. I've been asking that for years.
You want to close all the industry?
Sure, I do. Human health come first.
What she said. You see, in a system that puts capital first, that means you as a human come second, third, or fourth. You don't come first. That's why it's capitalism. Now, and socialism is focused on the society, on the human beings within that society. So therefore, who would come first? Right? Think about it. It's in the names. It's in the names of what's the primary focus. Let's continue.
You know, that's the problem with the industries, the politicians, and everybody else that care about the bucks. But what is happening to people's health?
Well, people have to eat. Don't they need jobs?
Sure. Well, let's put that in an area where no one lives, in a non-residential area, and it's still piling all this around us. We are like sitting in a center of a donut. We have steel mill, treatment plants, hazardous waste incinerators, paint factory. We have it all. And I don't think that in my community should share the burden for the whole city of Chicago. And we've been doing it ever since 1863.
So you
now
say you either move the people. Yeah. I want to see if I understand you. You're saying either move the people out of harm's way, sure, or shut down the one or the other. Get going on it.
Right. And I prefer being relocated.
Is there a middle ground? Can you come to some kind of agreement with these companies?
No, we're not economizing with these people in the company. We want them closed down because we feel that they're affecting our health while they're making millions of dollars each year.
What she said. And they're making millions of dollars each year, not only making us sicker, but also causing our climate to degrade over time. And so every single time we try to fix something within capitalism that benefits human beings, capitalism claws it back. The capitalists, they claw it back. They say, no, 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 no. We want it for ourselves. And that's part of the problem. That's why if climate change destroys capitalism, I say good. Good. Capitalism is going to hang itself with the rope it sold us with. Because it's not going to help any of us. It hasn't helped any of us. And it will continue to not help us at all. So, with that being said, look, I honestly think capitalism won't survive because in order for us to live, capitalism has to die. It has to. Because then that means we actually have a fighting chance in this future. We'll have a fighting chance in this world. All right. Thank you very much. Like the stream. Thank you so very much for this. What do you guys think about that article too? I think they got some things correct, but I think they just didn't get it all. You know what I mean? Because they're looking at it from a capitalist perspective, and I'm just like, nah, y'all ain't got it. So let me do this. I'm gonna go to, I think, Roger, you put some comments, some more comments. I'll go to that too. I don't know if I can. I don't know if I can read that, Roger. I'm gonna read it anyway. Fine. Well, because I'm me. Roger, I'm gonna read this book. Oh man, the Zionists are not gonna hate me for this one. I mean, they're gonna hate me for this one. It says, look, I've been saying for a while, if Zionists feel that they want to have their own homeland of Israel, well, rename Antarctica to Israel. Drop their asses off over there, increase climate change, and let their asses all sink to the bottom of the goddamn ocean. Amen. Anyway, let's continue. He said, okay, Chicago clip. What percentage of the people who are in that community work at that plant? Because if it's a small percentage, well, they're not even benefiting from it financially. So close it down. Agreed. No wonder they want to close it down. It's not going to hurt them financially either. You see, this is what I mean. And the best example of what I just said, that if the community owned, controlled, and ran those plants, they would not put their community, their health and environment at risk. Now, this is Illinois, a ballot initiative state for amendments that doesn't have a single subject rule, which means they can run Illinois single payer, which is healthcare, public bank, to rebuild infrastructure and things that would address building out the cooperative economy. Thank you so very much for that, Roger. Now, let's go into the rest of this chat. Roger also says corporate charters are privilege, not rights, but rarely used because no state attorney general wants to be responsible for killing jobs by forcing the company to close down. That's why reissue of cooperative charters are needed. Thank you very much for that. And Sean Miller, he says, Sean Miller, right of first offer is better. Let me see. Offer puts the power in corporate hands. Refusal puts it in workers' hands. Okay, so I see you guys are having a conversation there. Chris H says, nobody is serious about dealing with climate change if they are not in support of thorium reactors, nuclear reactors, and fusion energy. Wind and solar are supplemental at best. It says that the left has to be careful with this climate change stuff. Really, climate change is an excuse the West uses to hold back African development. Well, here's the thing. I have been talking with a comrade about thorium. And from what I'm hearing is that it is way safer than uranium, which makes my ears perk up. I want to see more about it. And so, yes, I know that, you know, a lot of renewables are supplemental at best. So, yes. Climate change is an excuse that the West uses to hold back African development. Well, here's my thing. If we were really concerned about climate change, we would be helping African countries to not make the same mistakes that we made as far as our climate, right? So the United States could be doing what China's doing with the Belt and Road Initiative, saying, hey, we know that you guys are, you know, we've done some things in the past that are wrong. Let's build up our relationship by, hey, we will go, let's say in Cote d'Ivoire or in Madagascar or in Algeria or what have you. We will build a thorium nuclear power plant in your area for you guys. And then in exchange, we'll have trading partnership with you guys. And it will be an equal playing partnership. And the United States does not interfere at all in their government and how they operate. But the United States won't do that because they need to have control over the governments. And so look at what they're doing with Rwanda. And so, unfortunately, the United States won't take the same model as China because China has the belief of collective prosperity versus the United States is, no, I got mine, you better go get yours. And so they'll say, well, you guys aren't doing, you guys are working bad against climate change. And then they feel the need to go and try to help them fix it. When in reality, it's like, no, if you really want to help them, then you would help them in, power plants like, hydroelectric dams, and you guys would help them with maybe a thorium plant, or you guys would help them with solar, things like that. But you're not doing any of that. You're not helping them at all. You're just trying to take because they got all the resources. So in that sense, I think I see what you mean, Chris. Let's continue on. Mender says lead poison has negatively affected the working class neighborhoods for years. Yeah, in fact, we talked about the lead in the drinking water in Flint, Michigan. A couple of weeks back, I had on Jordan Sheridan from Status Quo on to talk about his book about the poisoning of America. And we talked about even how it affects you like emotionally and mentally, and how it, degrades, the human mind as well as the human body. And so if you guys would like to, you guys can go in and take a look at that. But that's also part of the issue that we see, especially within our communities. Jaybefaunt, you have to be careful about conflating things. The Chinese have done a lot of industry. They are socialists and they have overcome pollution. It doesn't have to be industry versus people. I'm saying that it has to be people operated democratically industry. Even if it's through economic central planning model, of course, you would have to do it through the will of the people, not through the will of corporations or corporate power. So I hope I don't sound like that I'm saying that, because the thing is, like, industry can still exist within a socialist country, and it still can be worker owned and operated, things like that. I personally believe that certain industries should be within the hands of a centralized power. Like, for instance, I feel like healthcare industry, I feel like, even if you just wanted to do it through like a state instead of federal, okay, there could be an argument for that. But I feel like there's certain industries that should not be subject to profits, right? And of course, worker cooperatives will still want to do profits, but it would be, going straight to the workers collectively instead of to the top. But yeah. But yes. Roger says thorium-based nuclear power reactors controlled, owned, and ran as community cooperative. Rome says, "Goddamn, boy, you still going?" Yeah, I'm long-winded. I am very long-winded. And then this one also, powering graphene batteries based on hemp made from co-op supply chain located in buildings and housings that cut off would continue to powering them for a year on one charge minimum. And Bender says we need conscious, responsible industry. I fully agree with that. All right, so I'm gonna head on out because it's time for me to go, and I've been on here since 3 p.m. So it's time for me to get going. Let me check to see if I have any Rumble rants. No Rumble rants that I can see. I think we're good there. All right, so thank you, everybody. Thank you, Rome. Appreciate it. So. Oh my goodness. Sometimes I get on my own nerves, but it is what it is. But thank you, guys, for sticking with me for this entire show. And yeah, thank you too, Wardy. Thursday, of course, Sabby and JV show. So tune in for that. And then, I know I have a guest next week. Let me check and see. Next Tuesday. Next Tuesday I have on. Yes, the Gentle Rambler. I've had him on before. He has a podcast, and so we'll be having a discussion as well. So that'll be next week on the 15th. And then this Sunday on the 3rd, let me see. This Sunday they're going to be doing a TV launch, Right Brain TV launch. They're going to be doing launching of a new phase with Right Brain. So that evening I'll be joining them. I'll be joining Kevin and Mark from Right Brain Studios. So that will be a good time. And then of course I'll be doing a news. I'll be doing a news story. Yeah, I'll be doing a news story this Sunday. News stories on RBN. And then and then it's going to be a week full of me learning stuff. So great. All right, everybody. So I'm going to head on out. Thank you so very much to everybody for tuning in. Thank you so very much to Rome for tuning in and going on a rant, because those rants are like a breath of fresh air. They're like an ice cold Sprite on a hot day, where it burns you right here, but it feels so good. Yeah. Anywho, I'll see you guys in the next one. Water your plants, water yourselves, leave the world better than you found it. Do all the things. If you got them, smoke them. If you got them, drink them. If you got them, if you ain't got them, then watch something funny, because joy is revolutionary. And I will see you guys in the next one. Mwah, forehead kisses, because that's the kind of guy I am. I just like to give forehead kisses to every single one of you, because you guys are just so beautiful. I just love each and every one of you. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you later. Thank you so very much for watching my channel, and I deeply appreciate it from the top and bottom of my heart. If you wish to support the channel further, so I can keep bringing you content that is educational and informative, you can become a patron on patreon.com/Jaybefaunt. You can find that link in the pinned comment or in the description below. No matter what you give, you'll be supporting independent media and education that helps make the world better. Thank you so much, and you can watch more of my content here. Mwah. Forehead kisses, and have a beautiful day.